Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the Minute Waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, but also to welcome to the programme four exciting, dynamic personalities who can display their skill with words and language as they speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And those four are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Vanessa Feltz, and seated on my left, Julian, Clary, and Jenny Eclair. Please welcome all four of them. Seated beside me is Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me keep a score, and she will blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And Vanessa, we're with you to begin. It's the first time she's played the game. She's very anxious at the moment, but you needn't worry. She's got three stalwarts all around her. And Vanessa, the subject they've chosen for you is exam revision. I'm sure you did a lot of that in your time, because I know you were very bright at school. Exam revision. 60 seconds starting now.
They teach you many things at school, but exam revision is not one of them. And I approached this in a most rudimentary and primitive fashion. I used to cover my file with one elbow and then write out from memory everything I could possibly recollect about, for example, the intricacies of Hargreaves spinning Jenny. Then I hit upon...
Jenny challenged.
Not interrupting her, but interestingly, my ancestor is, because you know I'm a Hargreaves, really, invented the spinning jenny.
Yes.
Yes, I thought that was an interesting point.
It was.
Maybe you'd like to tell us a little about the intricacies of their workings.
But it's got absolutely
I know nothing about that. No, I just thought the listeners at home would be intrigued.
Well, my grandfather invented the whistle, but I didn't go on about it.
Back to Vanessa.
Actually, if we're talking about this, my father, Norman the Knicker King, was the first to import edible knickers to this country. He imported them from Amsterdam, and they were pineapple flavoured.
Right. And Julian,
And she's wearing some tonight.
Julian, what did your grandfather do?
He had a lot to do with the lazy Susan.
Jenny, we enjoyed the interruption, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with Just a Minute.
No.
So, have you got a challenge within the rules?
Not at all. I'm enjoying
Well,
Vanessa.
in that case, our newcomer gets a point for an incorrect challenge. And you keep the subject, and you've got 36 seconds if you still want them for exam revision starting now.
Finally, I hit upon a novel approach to exam revision and decided to pay my younger sister, Julia, to test me. That meant that she, under the weight of enormous books and tomes, stood there, and I simply spouted forth the Oxbow Lake, the reproductive habits of the snapdragon, and then Jane Austen's novels, in particular Mansfield Park. You will remember the insipid, somewhat anemic heroine, Fanny Price. And my sister stood there and said, what did Jane...
Julian is challenged.
Repetition of sister.
Shame.
Yes, you mentioned it.
Very good.
But you did
Very good, very well done.
First time. A first-time player of the game, and went for 53 seconds.
Oh, Julian! You swine!
With an interruption, with Jenny's help, you caught your breath, which is a great help, of course. But, Julian, that was the correct challenge, and you have the subject of exam revision. 7 seconds available, starting now.
I never went in for exam revision. I would ensure that I was feeling poorly on the morning when I had to file into the examination room.
So, Julian Clary, speaking as the whistle went, again, that extra point. Julian, will you begin the next round? The subject is mobile phone etiquette. I don't know whether you have a mobile... Do you have a mobile phone?
Yes, I do have a mobile phone.
Well, then maybe you can talk on the subject. 60 seconds, starting now.
The most important bit of mobile etiquette is not to use your appliance when in a restaurant. Switch it to vibrate and put it in your underpants, and you will find, if the company you're keeping is boring, that it will enliven your evening. Mobile etiquette, especially in the young people, is sadly lacking. They speak loudly in modern person's talk, and they fidget around.
Jenny challenged.
Hesitation.
I think that was a hesitation, yes,
Probably.
Julian, yes. But you went for 24 seconds.
Oh,
It's
how
a
lovely.
personal record, Julian.
Jenny, you're in a very aggressive mood today. Anyway, you have a point on the subject, Jenny. Mobile phone etiquette, 36 seconds starting now.
I'm on the the train! Yes, we know we're in the same carriage, for heaven's sake. Do not use your mobile phone on your grandmother's 80th birthday when she's paid for a table at the Savoy. Also, 1 phone is enough. 2 equals drug dealer. When I have my mobile phone in...
Oh, Paul challenged.
Oh, I've written... is it mobile phone etiquette? Is that the subject?
That's right, yes.
Yes. In that case, repetition of phone. No, I wrote it down wrong, so I wrote down mobile etiquette,
yes.
sorry.
You wrote it down, but you couldn't read your own writing. So it was an incorrect challenge, Jenny. Another point to you. And 15 seconds available, starting now.
When I'm using my mobile phone in public, I make damn sure that my conversation is of great juiciness, so the whole top deck of the number 176 is hanging onto my every word as I discuss.
So Jenny Eclair was then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point, and she's taken the lead now. 1 ahead of Paul Merton, and 2 ahead of Julian, and 3 ahead of Vanessa. And we're at early stage yet, but Jenny, with you to begin. Oh, this subject will be intriguing to my mind anyway, as someone who's steeped in the laws of show business. It is Shakespeare's Scottish play. Will you tell us something about that? Because there's a huge superstition around this for those listeners who don't know, and obviously nobody in this audience knows because they didn't react at all when I said the subject. Jenny, that's the subject. Shakespeare's Scottish play, 60 seconds starting now.
I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from its boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn.
Julian, you challenged.
I'm feeling a little queasy.
Well, take it up with William Shakespeare.
Yes, that was Lady Macbeth's speech.
Yes, lovely.
Went earlier on, yes.
Award-winning, I must say.
Well, not award-winning, but it did get me into Manchester Polytechnic School of Theatre in 1978.
And was that your audition piece?
Yes!
Wow! Well, did it again.
What else would you like?
And it was an incorrect challenge, Jenny, so you still have 46 seconds. Shakespeare's Scottish play starting now.
Yes, I can't believe I managed to gain a place in drama school with that. It's the only part of the play I know. I didn't bother to read the rest of it. I just thought, that looks juicy. It's got a good bit in for me. I'll do that. I also... Oh, I'm deviating now, aren't I? So I won't.
Julian, you challenged.
You're deviating now.
Yes.
Yeah, she admitted it, and so Julian, correct challenge. And you tell us something about Shakespeare's Scottish play. 31 seconds are still available, starting now.
Out damned spot is the only quote I can give you. I've often been compared to Lady Macbeth because we're both very particular about personal freshness. I wash my hands several times a day, especially before meals. The Scottish...
Jenny challenge.
I think he was deviating.
Why?
He was talking about his own personal hygiene, and I wasn't allowed to talk about my drama school audition.
Yeah, but he was saying how he was influenced
Okay.
by that speech of Lady Macbeth's.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Benefit of the doubt to you, Julian. And still 16 seconds available. Shakespeare's Scottish play starting now.
Shakespeare's Scottish play, as opposed to his Welsh play, is particularly scary.
Vanessa challenge.
Can you name Shakespeare's Welsh play?
Yes. There wasn't...
A Tale of Two Welshes.
No. Vanessa, a good challenge. He didn't have was not one that's called his Welsh play anyway. It's only Owen Glendower appears in one of the plays, which is it doesn't really matter which one.
Henry IV, Part 1.
Well, that's right. Well done. Yes, you did do your exam revisions, didn't you? Anyways, Shakespeare's Scottish play with you, Vanessa, and having gained another point. 11 seconds starting now.
So foul and fair a day I have not seen. Thus begins Shakespeare's Scottish play, a concoction which terrifies thespians the world over.
But Vanessa was then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point and has moved forward. She's still in, she's in third place now, just behind Julian, and Jenny's in the lead, one ahead of them. And Paul, it's back with you to begin. And the subject now is Stonehenge. Tell us something about Stonehenge in this game, starting now.
When Nicholas Parsons was officially asked to open Stonehenge in the year 6000 BC, he was already celebrating 50 years in show business. He turned up in his beautiful blazer, tie, matching trousers, and saw the assembled rocks in front of him and asked whether they were able to pick up digital radio. He was informed that as a time traveller he was greatly honoured, and he was seen as a sun king by the early Brits. His appearance walking through the road with woad all over his back was enough to send people into heights of hysteria and delight. One day he had a threesome with a couple in Chichester who made love to him from Christmas to New Year's Eve. And I skipped a year in the telling of that one as well. Meanwhile, what was the subject? I've completely forgotten. What was it? What was the subject?
Go on.
Stonehenge.
You were challenged after 50.
I'm glad. It was so...
Yeah. Jenny, you challenged.
Repetition of what's the subject, what's the subject?
It's a cry for help.
Cry for help. How can you put me at Stonehenge? Doing a...
You don't mind about the threesome in Chichester?
No. The threesome in Chichester was fun.
Yeah. And that features on the Bayeux Tapestry, if you look carefully. Just next to the third horse from the end.
So, Jenny, the subject is Stonehenge. It's with you now, and there are 13 seconds still available, starting now.
Do you know, I've never bothered to get out of the car and actually go and look at Stonehenge, which is very lazy of me. Run by the National Trust, so they'll have a good cafe with flapjack, which, let's face it, is quite tempting. But there's all sorts of rumours about how...
So, Jenny, speaking again as the whistle went, another point. And another points in the round has increased her lead at the end of that round. And Vanessa, we're back with you to begin. Oh, Vanessa, saving things for best. It's an old-fashioned phrase. I remember my mother used it so often. Would you please talk on that subject? And the time starts now.
So passionately devoted was my late Grandma Sybil to the concept of saving things for best that when she finally shuffled off this mortal coil, the cellophane was still intact on her turquoise silk headboard. Never had the day arrived that was sufficiently gala to merit...
Dear. Oh, Julian's challenge.
Oh, sorry, hesitation.
It was hesitation, yes. And there are 37 seconds still available, Julian. Saving things for best, starting now.
I'm very keen on saving things for best. I've got a lovely pair of rubber shorts, which I only wear on Easter Sunday, and...
Vanessa challenge.
Why would you save rubber shorts for best?
best.
You can't get wear and tear on rubber shorts, yeah, even if you really try, Julian.
You'll be
can you?
surprised.
I would be shocked.
They always wear out in the same place as well, don't they? Chichester.
You give me a difficult dilemma, because to Julian that might be saving things for best.
Absolutely.
But to others, it's probably rubbish. But Vanessa, I know what we'll do. We'll give you a bonus point for a good challenge. But Julian, you were interrupted, so you get a point. And you keep the subject, and there are 30 seconds available, saving things for best, starting now.
When I was a child, Sunday best was what it was all about. What you wore the rest of the week, casual or smart, was entirely your own affair. But in order to go to church on that holy day, one would smarten up. I had lovely matching floral tie and shirt that was the envy of all the other altar boys. And I would mince down the aisle in my cassock. And really, that was saving things for best, if ever it was. Another thing I like to do on that special...
Saved by the whistle. You were hesitating.
Yes, I was just breaking
the,
down.
Yes, and in the middle of your hesitation, the whistle went, so you get the extra point for speaking, and you got another... Oh, you're equal in the lead now with Jenny Eclair, and then it's followed by Vanessa Feltz and Paul Merton in that order. Jenny, it's your turn to begin. The subject is casting off. So would you please talk on that subject, starting now?
In my time, I have cast off many things, friends, lovers, clothes, but most recently, wool, because I like knitting. My name is Jenny Eclair, and I am a born-again knitter. In fact, the biggest thrill I get these days is going into the haberdashery department of Peter Jones. Look at all those woolly balls, all different colours, calling me free to cast on and then knit my desired object before casting off. What an absolute pleasure this is for me. I tell you, if you haven't knitted in your life, don't ask your mum. She gets slappy with you and says, you don't listen. Go on to the knitting emporiums.
All right. Julian, you challenge.
Repetition of knitting.
Yes, you've got a bit too much knitting in there, darling.
Yes.
But you knitted the rest together very well.
Thank you.
13 seconds for you, Julian, on casting off, starting now.
When I was on board HMS Nancy Boy, my task was casting off. I would stand on the bow, the wind blowing in my hair, untie the rope, and ahoy, I would say, and we would...
So Julian was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he's back taking the lead, one ahead of Jenny, and they're both a bit ahead of Vanessa and Paul. And Paul, it's back with you to begin, and the subject is a sidekick. A sidekick? Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, can you make sense of it?
Yes.
You can. Good. A sidekick, 60 seconds, Paul, starting now.
It's one of the moves in Thai boxing if your opponent is coming towards...
Paul, you've challenged us.
Deviation from how the show's been for the last 47 years.
I know. You get a point for an incorrect challenge.
Thank you.
Give him another point there. I'm sorry about that, but I couldn't resist it. Sorry about that. Of course, that's what it is, isn't it? Yes. So carry on, Paul. You have 56 seconds available. A sidekick starting now.
Batman and Robin weren't getting on. The boy wonder envied his hero master, and he wanted to be the one that Gotham City would call in a state of emergencies. Superheroes down the ages have always relied on sidekicks. The Green Hornet had a character called Kato, and Superman probably didn't have one, so he's the exception. Sidekicks in Siamese...
Julian challenge.
Repetition of super.
Oh, yes. Oh, there we are, yes. Oh, you're looking hurt now.
I'm not hurt.
33 seconds available for you, Julian, on a sidekick, starting now.
I've had several sidekicks on stage. The lovely Hugh Jelly, who I perform with occasionally, and I would say to him, how are you? And before he could answer, I would pop in and say, well, that's all very interesting.
Jenny challenge.
And say.
And say, yes.
Well, they're little small words.
But they were both together, making
mean
quite
so
a long
much.
word.
But they are verbs, not like thee. You know, you might let 2 or 3 these go, but not say. No. Jenny, correct challenge. 22 seconds. A sidekick starting now.
I've never had a stage sidekick, possibly because I'm rather greedy financially and I wouldn't want to put 50% of my fee over to someone else. What if they wanted more laughs than me? I don't even keep a support act because they get needy. And anyway, there have been cruelty issues, so legally I'm actually not allowed to have one anymore. But let's not talk about that. A sidekick...
So Jenny Eclair was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. It's neck and neck with Julian. She's moved forward. They're both equal in the lead. Ahead of Paul Merton and Vanessa Feltz in that order. And Vanessa, we're back with you to begin. And the subject is keeping a diary. I don't know if you are a diary person or not, but talk on the subject. 60 seconds if you can, starting now.
I was astounded to receive a call from Radio 4 this summer. They said that they make a programme entitled My Teenage Diary. Had I kept one and would I participate in the programme? I said, well, when I did such a thing, the entries were awfully brief, actually, and not particularly riveting. I didn't think they'd be interested. They said, let us be the judge of that. Within minutes, my teenage diaries were winging their way to this very establishment. Somebody or other...
Paul challenge.
Repetition of teenage.
Yes, I'm afraid you
shame.
said the teenage diary before.
Yes.
No, they're bad luck, my darling. You went for 28 seconds anyway. And the subject is keeping a diary, Paul. You have 32 seconds, starting now.
Well, first of all, obviously, you have to get a herd of cows and a few barns, and what you do is you put them in there and you feed them, and you milk
Vanessa
them every...
Nothing to do with diary. He's talking about a dairy.
And yes.
I've misread my writing again. Look at that.
Well done, Vanessa. We give you the subject. And back. And you've got a correct challenge, a point, of course. 27 seconds still available. Keeping a diary, starting now.
So the short volumes arrived here at the BBC. I received...
Julian challenged.
Repetition of B.
B.
Oh, that's not a word. That's a letter. That's a letter. That's not fair.
My darling, it's one of the... It's one of the.
What a terrible shame.
I know, it's one of the trip-ups of the show. She's never played it before. Shall we give her the benefit of the
give
doubt?
it back to
Give
her.
it
Oh,
back.
Thank you.
Anyway, you've got the benefit of the doubt, so you get a point
Do
for...
I still get a point, by the way?
Yes, darling.
That's
This is correct.
And it's neck and neck.
A
here.
point... It's neck and neck.
Neck and neck over there. Neck and neck.
Julian gets a point for a correct challenge. Vanessa keeps her subject, and there are 22 seconds keeping a diary of Vanessa starting now.
The aforementioned volumes arrived at Broadcasting House, and I received a phone call from a producer of said programme. And
Paul.
Hesitation.
Yeah, this time we have to give it to you against you, Vanessa. So Paul's got in there with 12 seconds to go on keeping a diary starting now.
As I stood... making up words.
You were still on the dairy, weren't you?
Yeah, I was still on the dairy. I
Yeah,
mispronounced the word stood as stood.
So, Julian, you challenge first.
Yes, hesitation.
So you've got the subject anyway, and you've got another point, and you have 10 seconds keeping a diary starting now.
I'm very keen on keeping a diary, and when I go home tonight, I shall say I upset Vanessa Feltz by calling repetition.
Paul.
Well, there was a slight hesitation there. Did you notice?
No, I didn't spot it.
That's just emoting.
Did the audience spot it?
Yes.
So are you saying yes, there was a hesitation?
Yes.
All right, if you want. I always bow to the audience. And, Paul, you've got him with 4 seconds to go on keeping a diary starting now.
I kept a diary from 1968 all the way through to now.
Right. Oh, and we're moving into the final round. So I'll give you the state of play as we do that. Vanessa, who's never played the game before, is doing very well. She's in a very strong 4th place. And it's a very strong one. And she's just behind Paul Merton, who's trailing Jenny Eclair, who's 2 points behind Julian Clary. And Julian, it's also your turn to begin. And the subject is the perfect omelette. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
The perfect omelette is all down to the wrist action, and
Paul challenge.
I mean, the egg's got something to do with it. Can't be all down to the wrist action, otherwise you're just doing that all day, aren't you? And that's
Paul.
not an omelette.
I think he's got pancakes mixed up with omelettes.
No, Paul, we love the interruption, but...
Don't explain what I was doing, will you?
We'll give you a bonus point for the fun you gave us there. But really, I mean, he can start off by saying that I assumed he was going on to say that he was whisking up the eggs with
yes.
with a wrist action.
Yes, of course.
So, Julian, I won't allow it as a challenge, and you still have the subject. Incorrect challenge. 57 seconds. The perfect omelette starting now.
place your eggs and a little milk and seasoning in a bowl, and then grab your whisk and go for it like there's no tomorrow. Imagine you are somewhere dark and dangerous, and you will find that omelette fluffs up before your very...
Paul challenge.
He hasn't applied any heat to this yet. He's poured it into a saucepan with some milk and he's whisked it
No,
up.
and then it fluffs up, and then you put it on the heat.
Do you?
Yes. You cook it after you've got it ready.
I'm going to take notes. I had no idea.
So that's an incorrect challenge.
Yeah.
You can put it on the heat whenever you're ready, can't you?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I was coming to that.
I know.
Much
I
more
assumed you
complicated
were,
than you
yes.
might think, isn't it?
Julian, another point to you. 43 seconds. The perfect omelette starting now.
The best accompaniment to the perfect omelette is a battered sausage, and this is what I have every Friday night. I cook it. What?
It's Jenny who challenged.
Well, I think it's time we stopped you. This programme gets repeated on a Sunday lunchtime, Julian.
And what do you think I'll be doing on Sunday lunchtime?
Recovering.
But he only said it was a battered sausage, didn't he?
I know.
said he-
My mouth is watering.
So, Jenny, what is your challenge when the rules are just a minute?
Deviation
Why?
from common decency.
That's your challenge.
Well, Jenny, as you can't beat Julian, I think, at the time available, We'll give you the benefit of the doubt because we'd like to hear from you on this round.
you.
And say that you have 34 seconds on the perfect omelette starting now.
The perfect omelette should be like...
Julian challenge.
Oh, this is so boring.
It was so boring, but she may have been, but she wasn't deviating from the subject.
No.
She only went for like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Jenny, another point to you because
Thank
incorrect.
you. I can win this.
The perfect omelette, Jenny, is still with you. 32 seconds starting now.
The perfect omelette should be like a towel, light and fluffy, but unlike said object, it should be stuffed to the gills with mushroom.
Paul challenge.
A repetition of it should be.
Should be, yes. Well, Paul, you've got him with 22
he's
seconds
right,
to
he's
go
right.
on the perfect omelette starting now.
First, source your eggs from Devon. Helen, the chicken, is the best one. She lays the most perfect omelette flavoured over. Meanwhile, get some cheese, because this is beautiful. If you mix that dairy product in with the omelette, then you create what you can only call ditto omelette, because you've...
Julian, new challenge.
I really didn't mean to. My thumb just had a spasm.
Well, think of a challenge quickly.
It's all that whisking you've been doing on your own. It's got a spasm. It's all that wrist action.
Have you got a challenge? No.
Yes, terrible diction.
Terrible. I can't give it to you on that. Incorrect challenge. Paul, another point to you. 4 seconds to go. The perfect omelette starting now.
I got the bowl, put some milk in it, and all of a sudden, it's a... omelette.
Well, as I said before, this was to be the final round. Let me give you the final score. Vanessa Feltz, who's not played the game before, finished up in a very strong 4th place. And she was a few points behind Paul Merton, who was equal with Jenny Eclair in 2nd place. But they were both 2 points behind Julian Clary, who we say, Julian, you are our winner this week. Oh. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with real style when the 60 seconds elapsed. We thank our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're very grateful to this lovely audience here in the Radio Theatre, who've cheered us on our way magnificently. From them and me, Nicholas Parsons and the team, goodbye. Tune in again the same time when we play Just a Minute.
And Nicholas Parsons will be back at the same time next week. He'll have Shappi Khorsandi, Gyles Brandreth, Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha with him.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Nicholas Parsons, and as the Minute Waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world. But also to welcome to the programme 4 talented and excited people from show business who are going to show their talent with words and language as they try and speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And those 4 are seated on my right, Gyles Brandreth and Shappi Khorsandi, and seated on my left, Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha. Please welcome all 4 of them. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens. And Trudy's going to help me keep the score, and she'll blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Radio Theatre in the heart of Broadcasting House, that hallowed building in Portland Place. And we're going to begin the show with Gyles Brandreth. Who better? And Gyles, the subject I have here for you to start with is how to make the most of a bank holiday. Can you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
How to make the most of a bank holiday. Zippity-doo-dah. There's only one thing to do on a bank holiday, and that is rob a bank. It's the day for it. Set out looking the part. Put on a lovely stripy jumper, carry a swag bag, and over your head not a balaclava, but a stocking. A pair of tights can look ludicrous with one leg flopping about. So, set off for the high street and choose your bank with care. I'm favouring the Co-op at the moment. It's sending out the kind of loser's vibe, and I do know the former chairman, who is a Methodist minister and rather a sweet person if you like that kind of thing. Well, be equipped with your jemmy as you go towards the front door. People will think you're just larking about or have been listening to satirical programs on the wireless that have been bashing bankers for years, and it's now part of the trend. Get through that opening and down towards the safe. When you're there, begin fiddling with the knobs, crack it open, and get your fingers on the loop.
Well done, Gyles. What a way to begin. Not often happened.
That's the end, right?
The first subject. Started with it, went right through for the 60 seconds, no challenges. I think you could have had him for deviation about robbing a bank. I mean, isn't that a bit devious thought? No.
I thought it was deviation and also quite opinionated, but I was enjoying it so much.
I know.
I was actually going to interrupt when you said put on a lovely striped jumper, because by the looks of things tonight, you don't have any nice striped jumpers.
He was famous for his striped jumpers in the, when was that, the 60s?
You're the only one who could remember, Nicholas.
Anyway, in this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and also he goes for 60 seconds without interruption. He gains a bonus point. So at the end of the round, Gyles has got 2 points. In fact, he's the only one to score. Right, we move on. Shappi, will you begin the next round? Oh, the subject, pigeon fancying. You know anything about it? If not, try, darling. No hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Starting now.
It's a very little known fact about me. I used to keep pigeons. I had a loft in my garden when I was a child, and I had 7 of the things, pigeons, in fact, and I named them after my favourite film stars. I had one called Yul Brynner, Marilyn Monroe, Sophia Loren, Humphrey Bogart, and the rest of them escape my...
Gyles, you've challenged.
Deviation. Humphrey Bogart was not a film star. He was the unsuccessful one.
Was that his like,
yes,
awkward middle brother?
Yes. Darling, you went for 39 seconds, which is pretty good. But Gyles, that was a correct challenge. So we give you a point for that, and you have... no, you're 39 seconds left. I'm sorry, you only went for...
Me down,
I'm reading this clock backwards, unfortunately. So, Gyles, another point to you. 39 seconds available. Pigeon fancying starting now.
There was an American film star called Walter Pigeon, and when I was a boy, I rather fancied the parts he played. He was superb in Mrs. Miniver, but his best role was when he essayed the part of a bank robber in a movie called Casino Down Under, an Australian film.
You challenged.
Oh, repetition from Bank Holiday, surely, in the first instance.
I don't know. What's your challenge, darling boy?
Well,
that was a different round.
OK, I'm terribly sorry.
I know you've just flown in from America, but we've moved on from robbing a bank to pigeon fancying.
To be honest, I just thought he needed interrupted because he's too good.
So what is your challenge within just a minute?
I would say deviation from the facts.
Pigeon fancying. He was talking about Walter Pigeon.
There were no movies when Gyles was a boy.
I don't think Walter Pigeon did ever play a part of a bank robber.
I think he did. Designed for Scandal, 1941, RKO.
When Gyles was a boy, it was 1923.
Gyles, you win the thing. You have 23 seconds left. Another point. Pigeon fancying starting now.
My old grandpa lived in Accrington-on-Sea, and there he fancied pigeons. He didn't talk like this, but I was brought up to speak in this funny way when referring to him because my dad didn't like his dad. Now, I repeated the word dad.
Paul, you challenge.
Was that a repetition of dad?
It definitely was a repetition of dad. So those on my left have now managed to move in. And Paul, you've got 8 seconds. Tell us something about pigeon fancying starting now.
Walking the tightrope between eccentric hobby and being on a register is how I would describe pigeon fancying.
Patrick, you've challenged.
Dad, that's just deviation from all sense, surely.
No, it did make sense to me. So, Paul, an incorrect challenge, a point to you. And there are 3 seconds left. Pigeon fancying starting now.
Avian vermin is how I would describe pigeons.
So Paul Sinha within speaking as the whistle went gained that extra point, and he's now moved rapidly forward. He's 1 point behind our leader, who is Gyles Brandreth. Patrick Kielty would like you to begin the next round, and the subject is now my favourite view. A little moment to think about it, then think, and then talk about your favourite view in just a minute, starting now.
Unlike Gyles Brandreth, my favourite view doesn't involve a mirror. It actually is right here in this very seat, admiring his rugged good looks.
Well, may you have paused after that.
It was the look of terror he was putting in me, Nicholas.
It was shock, actually, it wasn't terror. You challenged first, Shappi.
It was the rugged good looks.
Well, it was hesitation,
Back to
anyway.
pigeon fancy.
So you have the subject, and you have 48 seconds if you want it. My favourite view starting now.
I saw my favourite view only recently at the very top floor of a hotel in Manchester. The curtains were there over what I thought were the windows, and I opened it, and there was a picture of what would have been a fenêtre, as they say in France. One of those glass things that you can look out of. It didn't have an actual one of those things, just the...
Gyles challenge.
Repetition of things.
Yes, one of those things.
There were lots of those things.
So, Gyles, you're in there with another point, and 27 seconds are still remaining. My favourite view starting now.
You know that wonderful line of Maureen Lipman's, what's the worst thing about oral sex? The view. Well, from my point of view, the most wonderful view I ever enjoyed was that from Fort Prison, where I was imprisoned after my last bank robbery. It was an extraordinary experience.
You've been challenged by all three of them.
Well, I was going on to...
I know. I don't know how you
expatiate
managed.
upon what my favourite view was, having shared.
I don't know how you managed to go on after that first remark. But Paul, you actually challenged first. What was
Well,
it?
it's deviation in the sense that that's definitely not the worst thing about oral sex.
These are not valid interruptions. I'm ready to continue with the subject with mine. My favourite view. I've given you
I'm going to
Maureen's...
give the benefit of the doubt to
Thank you.
Paul Sinha.
What? Do people know that Paul Sinha is actually a doctor? Yes. Nicholas is siding with him, just in case.
So, Paul, yes, you have a challenge which I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and saying it's correct. 8 seconds are still available. My favourite view starting now.
My favourite view is any opinion completely opposite to mine.
Patrick.
You can't have a view of an opinion.
I would
No,
have
a
thought...
view is an opinion.
Oh, in
I'm
that
using
sense,
a different
yes.
sense of the word view.
This is getting weldy.
Oh, no wonder. The general knowledge that he needs on the chase, he brings out here, right. Yes, that is correct interpretation of the word view. So, Paul, another point to you, and 4 seconds available. My favourite view starting now.
Avian vermin is how I would describe pigeons.
Deviation
Why?
from his view.
No, he hasn't even established anything yet.
I thought we were talking about Maureen Lipman.
But she's not a pigeon.
She's a bird. She's a bird.
So what is your challenge within the rules of just a minute, Patrick?
I don't have a clue.
Well, we enjoyed the interruption. Give him a bonus point. But to be fair to Paul, he was interrupted, and there's 2 seconds ago, Paul, on my favourite view, starting now.
An Istanbul hotel is probably the greatest...
So Paul Sinha, gaining points in that round, including 1 for speaking as the whistle went, has moved forward. He's now in the lead, 2 ahead of Gyles Brandreth, followed by Shappi Khorsandi and Patrick Kielty in that order. And Paul, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject I've got here is looking forward to the World Cup. And you have 60 seconds if you want it, starting now.
The last World Cup took place in South Africa in 2010, and England played with the verve and confidence of my dad trying to manipulate a Sky Plus remote control, and was summarily thoroughly embarrassed by a well-organised German team, but worse than that, the camera panned to 2 fans of my home nation, and they were dressed as World War II RAF fighter.
Gyles challenge.
Well, 2 things, really. We've had 20 seconds looking back to the last World Cup and the subjects looking forward, and a repetition of 2, World War II and 2 fans.
Ooh. That's right. Well, listen, Gyles. He's played the game a few times before, as you can tell. And Gyles, you've got in with 37 seconds still available, looking forward to the World Cup starting now.
I'm so looking forward to the World Cup in Russia in 2020, because by then I think I will be out of prison. It'll probably be Ford where I am.
Patrick, challenge.
I don't think there is a World Cup in 2020. I think if the World Cup's in 2014, then, if I'm correct, it may be 18 and possibly 22.
Can I say I thought that through, but in the event of things going badly wrong in the Ukraine, it'll all be resolved by 2020, which was really the repetition. 2020.
Gyles,
never mind.
Gyles, I compliment you on your ingenuity and your cleverness in trying to wriggle out of that one. I don't think I can give you a bonus point for it, even though I enjoyed it. So, Patrick, you have a correct challenge. And you have looking forward to the World Cup. It's 2018.
Yes.
Not 2000.
I now have to talk about it.
Yes. Patrick.
Okay.
Patrick, that is one of the reasons we asked you here. So, will you take the subject, looking forward to the World Cup, and 26 seconds starting now.
The greatest thing about an Englishman is his ability to be an optimist. Irish people, Welsh, Scots, we all remember pain. However, in this country, it's football's coming home. No, it's not. It never lived here. It only came for a long weekend 50 years ago, took one look at the weather and buggered off back to Brazil.
Paul, challenge.
Well, I think given that he was being pedantic about years, it happened 48 years ago, not 50. 1966 was well
it?
remembered.
Yeah.
It's not like we ever talk about it.
No. But there's an agile mind there working it out and did the arithmetic at the same time. So, Paul, a correct challenge.
I thought we were friends.
And you've got 7... and you've only got 7 seconds left. Looking forward to the World Cup starting now.
What sort of dysfunctional human beings would... I tried to say
all their buzzers went, but Gyles, yours went first, eliminated the others. Hesitation, yes. And there are 4 seconds, Gyles, for you.
Damn it, I really wish I could have spoken on this subject, because I'm an expert.
Well, maybe Gyles will be generous and let you speak for the last 4 seconds. See what you have to say. Gyles gets his point for the correct challenge, and he's generously giving it over to Shappi with 4 seconds to go, yes.
He's got the hots for you, always has had. But fortunately, the doctor is here, so if anything goes wrong, a little bit of excitement goes quite a long way.
Shappi, you've only got 4 seconds. Tell us something about looking forward to the World Cup starting now.
Streakers, that's what I think we miss in the World Cup. You're not allowed to have them anymore.
So, Shappi Khorsandi within speakers of whistle when gain that extra point, and she's still in 3rd place, but is a strong 3rd place alongside Patrick Kielty, and they're trailing Gyles, Brandreth and Paul Sinha in that order, upwards. Right, Gyles, we're back with you to begin, and the subject is a drop in the ocean. An interesting phrase. Talk about it, and if you can, 60 seconds starting now.
At the time of the Potter's Bar NatWest heist, I cleared a mere £10 million. They said it was a drop in the ocean, but it felt sweet to me indeed. My collaborator was Nico Slasher Parsons. No relation, an untrustworthy companion. And when we were on board the QE2 escaping...
Patrick, challenge.
I don't think he shared that money with you, Nicholas.
I never even saw it.
Exactly. Deviation from the truth.
It's a complete deviation. Yes, right,
That's
Patrick.
what I meant.
And you were listening well, but it took a long time to come in. But you've got 38 seconds to tell us something about a drop in the ocean starting now.
As my old grandmother used to say, there's only one thing better than a drop in the ocean, and that's a pea in the sea. These days, though, there will be no drop in the ocean because thanks to global warming, oceans will only rise, which will mean one day there'll be no Holland or Norfolk. Yes, I know, it's a terrible world without clogs and guests for the Jeremy Kyle show. How will we possibly be able to manage? My mother used to hate
Gyles challenge.
Repetition of mother.
You mentioned your mother before.
I mentioned my grandmother.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, I met your mother and you said she's grand. Here's my mother.
I admire the way you struggle to get out of things, Gyles. But it wasn't true. No, he said grandmother before. As an incorrect challenge, Patrick, you have another point, and you have 12 seconds of drop in the ocean starting now.
My mother doesn't care about a drop in the...
Oh.
Repetition of mother this time.
No, if you use the word mother, if you start again, you can't use it again.
I thought I was just restarting after his incorrect interruption.
I know, but you still used the word once. You can't use it again.
Oh, he's a crafty old fox.
No, Gyles, a correct challenge on that occasion. 9 seconds, a drop in the ocean starting now.
I tipped the bag over the rail and there, the drop in the ocean, bubbling away. It wasn't anybody I knew, but the corpse of a friend of mine who had been...
Right. So Gyles Brandreth was speaking as the whistle went then, gained that extra point. He's taken the lead again, one ahead of Paul Sinha, followed by Patrick Kielty and Shappi Khorsandi in that order. And Shappi, it's your turn to begin. And the
I don't need my buzzer, do I? Low self-esteem.
Well, Shappi, the subject we have here is the first woman in space. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
The first woman in space was from Russia. Her first name was Valentina. I know that because that is my daughter's middle name. When she went to space, after that, there were tons of women in space. They set up a...
Gyles challenge.
Sexist. One can't refer to women in terms of their weight. Quite right. To refer to them as tons of women in space.
Gyles, it is an expression that a lot of people use.
I'm not asking for the point.
Then why the hell did you challenge?
Because... I feel that in this new modern age that we're in, it's just not the right way to talk about women.
You've always struck me as a staunch feminist.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I've seen the side of you publicly.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
In this
and I'm waxing now too.
in the difficult game of Gyles, let me say, it was an incorrect challenge. She has a point. She has the first woman in space, and there are still 48 seconds still available. What a long speech I've just made. And Shappi, you begin now.
In the papers, of course, they talked extensively about her hair colour, her height and her weight, which was slim, we have found out, otherwise they wouldn't have allowed her up there. Now, because she was the pioneer in space, there are women-only nightclubs, there are women-only hair salons. It is a utopia.
Gyles.
Women only, repeat it.
Only, you repeat it, my darling.
Only, right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So 29 seconds, Gyles, for you, the first woman in space, starting now.
I'm thrilled to have met Valentina, born, I think, in March 1937. A beautiful lady with gloriously big hair, last seen publicly when she held the Russian flag aloft.
Paul, challenge.
Well, do you know what? She's a pioneer. She's the first woman in space. If you're going to use the word tons and accuse that of being sexist, then describing her purely in terms of her appearance is surely a little bit anachronistic and old-fashioned and sexist. She was the first woman in space.
I quite agree with you, Paul, the way you're getting back at him on the same terms that you were criticising Shappi for before. Right, Paul, a correct challenge. The first woman in space. 18 seconds, starting now.
Sadly, very few women have entered space in the last 15 to 20 years. But as the great actress Maureen Lipman said, the greatest thing about space is the view. There's very little else to admire.
Oh, that was lovely. Give him a bonus point. Patrick, you challenge.
I thought I heard a slight sort of hesitation at the end of it.
Playing for the laugh.
All right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I gave Paul the benefit of the doubt. You have it this time. And 5 seconds, the first woman in space, Patrick, starting now.
As we all know, the first woman in space was Princess Leia in Star Wars. She went there because...
Yes, Paul, you challenge.
Star Wars came out in 1977, Tereshkova in 1965. Get your facts right, Patrick.
I am never going on the chase.
what it is to have a general knowledge expert on the show, right?
Jenny, it's like having C-3PO on the show.
So, your challenge within the rules just a minute?
Deviation.
Yes, it was wrong one. So, Paul, you've cleverly got in with 1 second to go.
Could I challenge his challenge?
Yes?
Only because I happen to share a birthday with this lady, which is why she's one of my heroines.
Princess
And
Leia.
I think it wasn't 1965, as Paul has asserted, but 1963.
Yes.
Oh, you
So
might be
to
right
give
there.
him the deviation on the point of his... to give him 1 second. I'm saying this because I was on the chase. We were £100,000 up, and I was beaten by Dr. Sinha, went away with £1,500. This is bitter and personal.
And can you tell me, where are we within this game of just a minute?
We're halfway through the next programme, whatever that may
So your challenge, Gyles...
be. My
I think
challenge
you might be
is...
right as well.
My challenge is that his challenge of deviation was incorrect.
Can you have challenges of challenges?
No, you can't have challenges of challenges, so it's too late, Gyles.
But the programme's ready to move forward into that extra dimension.
I go back to where we were.
Does that mean I'm still
it's
in?
too late. You cannot challenge a challenge. So, Paul, you had a correct challenge. You have 1 second on the first woman in space, starting now.
Avian vermin.
So Paul Sinha, speaking as a whistle, when gained that extra point. And he has moved forward. And he is now 2 points ahead of our leader, Gyles Brandreth. And Patrick Kielty and Shappi Khorsandi are following. And we're moving into the final round. In third place is Patrick Kielty. Fourth place, Shappi Khorsandi. But they're fighting out hard. And their contributions are still valid. And... And Paul Sinha, it's your turn to begin, so will you please start this round, which is brain food. Will you tell us something about brain food in just a minute, starting now?
I suppose there are two definitions to brain food. One is the literal one, which is that it is brain that you eat, very popular in certain Middle Eastern countries. I've had it in Turkey, it was revolting. And then there is...
Shappi challenge.
It's actually quite nice. Tons of lemon juice.
So what is your challenge within the rules of just a minute?
Factually incorrect.
I said I found it revolting, which is not factually incorrect.
So it was revolting.
Actually, I'm going to give Shappi a benefit of the doubt on this occasion. And there are 48 seconds still available. Shappi, tell us something about brain food starting now.
Brain food is something you read a lot about when you have a child, because they go, give it some pomegranates, it's brain food, give it blueberries, it'll magically make your child into a genius. And as a parent, you went...
Paul challenge.
You repeated child.
I'm afraid you did,
though.
yes,
Yes.
So, Paul, you got another point? 36 seconds, brain food starting now.
Shappi is, of course, correct that there are many things recommended to improve your brain power, but all of them are fairly disgusting. I had to prepare...
Patrick challenge.
Potatoes are very nice.
Patrick, coming from Ireland, I wouldn't expect you to say anything less than that. What has it got to do with what he's just said?
He said that all brain food is disgusting. Potatoes are lovely.
But we didn't establish that potatoes were a brain food.
Of course they are. Look at me.
I think that remark deserves the fact that I give you the subject. It's not going to make any difference to the final result. So, Patrick, you have it now, and there are 26 seconds available. Brain food starting now.
Ah, spuds. They are the only food that Irish people think are brain food simply because they resemble the shape of our heads. I know we're not lookers. In order to say you can eat yourself smarter is the same as saying you can drink yourself stupid, as we know that's not... Oh, hang on.
Shappi challenge.
A repeat of yourself.
That's right, yes. So, Shappi, you've got in, again, another point in this final round, which is good. And you have brain food, and there are 9 seconds left starting now.
Fish is what you're meant to eat when you're pregnant to make your kid smart. So I did that with my son.
Oh, Gyles, you challenged.
Hesitation.
I'm afraid it was.
And
you've
also a
got
lot
to-
of mother's guilt, because with my daughter I just ate chips and chocolate.
So you've got in with 2 seconds to go. Poor Gyles on brain food starting now.
I eat so much fish, my stomach rises and falls with the tide.
So, Gyles was speaking as the whistle went, getting that extra point, and so I give you the final result. Shappi, who hasn't played the game as much as others, came and finished in a very strong third place. She was in a fourth place, actually. But she was only one behind Patrick Kielty, who was in the third place. No, they were both in second place, actually. I just looked at the scores.
Keep going, I think we could win this, Shappi.
I just looked at the figures. And it's so exciting and it's so fair because we have two people equal in the lead, which is Paul Sinha and Gyles Brandreth. So we say, you are joint winners this week.
Yeah.
We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute, and we'll tune in again the same time next week. It only remains me to say thank you to these four fine players of the game, Gyles, Brandreth, Shappi, Khorsandi, Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score and blown her whistle with such delicacy when the 60 seconds elapsed. We thank our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Missiter, who created this amazing game, and we're also grateful to this lovely audience here in the Radio Theatre, who've cheered us on our way magnificently. From them, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye, and tune in again at the same time when we play Just a Minute! Welcome to Just a Minute. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, but also to welcome to the programme four exciting, dynamic personalities who are going to play this amazing game. And they are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Kevin Eldon, and seated on my left, Sheila Hancock and Joe Lycett. Please welcome all four of them. And I'm going to ask them, as usual, to speak on a subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens. She's going to help me keep the score, and she will blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And we begin the show this week with Kevin Eldon, and the subject is how to prepare sushi. I don't know whether you know anything about it, but try and talk on the subject if you can, starting now.
Take a stonefish, but don't touch it with your naked skin, or even look at it. It's so toxic it'll kill you. Then you must acquire a very sharp knife and cut out the 0.1% of it that's actually edible. Get rid of the rest of it, put it in a lead-lined vault and bury it under the ocean for all eternity. Then you have the raw material for a Japanese meal with the added frisson that there's only a 20% chance you'll actually walk away from the meal alive. Oh, I'm not saying that all Nipponese cuisine is going to endanger your life, although I would say that the noodles can get caught round your tonsils and that could do something terrible. Also, that wasabi sauce burns off the surface of your mouth, and I prefer to have my fishy creatures covered in doughy batter. Otherwise, how can you possibly taste it? Now, if you actually want to get a piece of tuna and apply some kind of ginger or soy sauce, do it. I don't care. I'm not particularly interested. You see, if you...
Well, that doesn't happen often in Just a Minute. Someone begins with a subject and goes right the way through without interruptions, no hesitation, repetition or deviation. And you get a point because you weren't interrupted, and you get a bonus point for speaking when the whistle went. So the other way around, you get a bonus point for speaking when the whistle went and a bonus point for... And... I must say, I must tell our listeners, it was partly not only his delivery, verbally, but his animation. It was pure television.
And a very...
He acted out every conceivable thing you said.
And just a very physical performer, Nicholas, a very physical performer.
Right. Sheila, would you begin the next round? Oh, nice topical subject. Well, it was for us recently. The Chelsea Flower Show. Oh, how lovely. Tell us something about the Chelsea Flower Show, Sheila, in this game, starting now.
Oh, I simply love the Chelsea Flower Show. It's such an English occasion. I have been in person once or twice. In fact, I was turned away. I went with my daughter and she had a small child with her. And they said, you can't come in with that baby because the Queen is is coming. And I said, I swear to you that my child won't hurt the Queen. However...
Joe, you challenged.
Is it repetition of Queen?
Yes, we had
it's
too
a bit
much.
I never normally mind that, but...
Right, so Joe, a correct challenge. And you have 38 seconds. The Chelsea Flower Show starting now.
My mother is a big fan of the Chelsea Flower Show, as she has a little thing for Alan Titchmarsh, but she also watched it recently and was quite furious that Benedict Cumberbatch got to take his mum around and before the people normal...
Sheila, you challenged first.
It was a bit of a hesitation.
Oh, yes. I didn't know what I was saying.
You managed to get about Benedict Cumberbatch out.
Cumberbatch, I like that.
I bet he doesn't. So, Sheila, correct challenge. And there are still 21 seconds available. The Chelsea Flower Show starting now.
Actually, I was quite upset this year because the gentleman that you mentioned just now wasn't any longer in it. And in fact, there was a very tedious TV programme where they kept saying, isn't it wonderful there are so many young people exhibiting this year? As though the oldies are not the people that are interested in the Chelsea Flower Show, which is...
Hancock was then speaking as the whistle went, gained the extra point, and she's now equal in the lead with Joe Lycett. Kevin Eldon's following them, and Paul's catching up in the rear. And Paul, we're with you to begin, and the subject is cat's eyes. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
My friend, Cat's Eyes Cunningham, so called because he lies down in the middle of motorways, was an old school chum of mine. And I remember the fact that his eyes would glaze in the darkness, rather like the feline of the species. There's something magical about a cat's eyes, the mirror that seems to be behind them, enhancing the light and throwing it back in your direction. Was it not the poet Keats who once compared cat's eyes to two twin lighthouses quite close apart?
Sheila.
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't it? I've always wanted to know. I've always wanted to know. That's worth knowing, that.
No. Sheila, you're quite right. You're quite right.
Quite right.
So, have a correct challenge, but we did enjoy it.
Yeah.
33 seconds are available, Sheila. Cat's eyes, starting now.
I remember hearing once that the gentleman who invented cat's eyes became a multi-billionaire. And it's a wonderful thought that somebody could devise...
Paul challenge.
A slight hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why you put on that voice, Paul. But it was a correct
That's
challenge.
how cat's eyes used to talk.
Right. 22 seconds are still available, Paul. Cat's eyes, starting now.
When I went to the Chelsea Flower Show, it was a look for the Benedict Cucumber Patch. Couldn't get the joke in the last round, I'll bung it in this one.
Well, see, I thought he'd just got Cumberbatch wrong and then it was a good joke.
I know.
However, it was a deviation from the topic because he was talking about the last topic.
Yes,
Joe,
exactly.
I agree with you. So you have 18 seconds on cat's eyes, starting now.
My cat Button has the most beautiful eyes. She stares into my soul with them and demands tuna. I provide it on occasion, but sometimes I feel a Dreamies might be better for her, and so she has one of those. She really likes...
Oh, Paul challenge.
A repetition of she.
Yeah, loads
yes,
of she's.
Yes, there's too many she's in there. Paul, you've got him with 3 seconds to go.
Someone's pressed the whoosh button.
Those are the rules of the game. And well, listen, Paul. 3 seconds. Cat's eyes, starting now.
I turned to the vet and I said to me, there's only one thing we...
Did he say I turned to the vet and I said to me, which doesn't actually make any sense, or did I
Yes, you can say it to yourself,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yes, but you say
I don't think it was enough.
Well-
I think you can if you want to be very colloquial. I said
No, it's
to
all right.
me,
No,
yes.
let Kevin have it. I don't mind.
He's so generous, isn't he?
I don't
Kevin,
mind.
he's given it to you.
Yeah.
You've got half a second on cat's eyes, starting now.
Dogs' testicles have been...
So, Kevin, Eldon was speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. He's now equal with Joe Lycett and Sheila Hancock in the lead, and Paul is only 2 points behind them. And Kevin, we're back with you to begin, and we now have a subject of a close shave. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
A close shave is when you nearly get into a perilous situation, and that happened a few years ago when I leapt out of an aeroplane doing a parachute jump. I got about halfway down 10,000 feet above the surface of the earth when I suddenly realised to my horror that I'd left the house without turning the dishwasher on. Oh, I could not believe how distraught I was as I tumbled through the stratosphere towards the very ground beneath. But I almost actually forgot to do my ripcord. Anyway, it turned out that it was an academic...
Paul challenge.
Hesitation.
Where?
Oh, when he said
Oh, yes.
When I said...
You did say
I did say
Did you say
Yes. I gave you the benefit of the doubt before.
No, it's fair.
But Paul has the benefit of the doubt. Paul, you have 24 seconds. Tell us something about a close shave, starting now.
A close shave, a close shave, a close shave. When I hear those words, I think to myself, shaving is one of the things when I was 14 years old that my father said to me, here is the razor, take it in your hand. The cream was applied to my face. I brought the blade closer to my skin. Something about the softness of the texture of the stuff that was covering my body was reacting badly with this metal that was in my fist.
Sir Paul Merton was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. And now an interesting situation. If you're interested in the points, they're all equal with the same number of points. I could never seen that before. 4 all the way across the line there.
Very nice.
Joe, it's your turn to begin. And the subject now is when to apologise. Speak if you can for 60 seconds or less, starting now.
I find apologetic...
Kevin, you challenge.
I'm sorry. I buzzed by accident.
Oh. Can I challenge myself?
Yes.
Because I said apologetic and it should have been unapologetic.
Yes. Well, I tell you what.
Nobody noticed.
You were
Go on.
interrupted.
Okay,
You were interrupted, so you get a point.
Oh, marvellous.
And you keep the subject. 58 seconds. When to apologise, starting now.
I have an apologetic demeanour at all times. I once gave a gentleman his wallet back because he'd lost it in a pub, and I apologised for doing that. I find that it is better to do that because when you're...
Sheila challenge.
To do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Too much of
It's hard, this, isn't it?
It's tough, yes. Sheila, you have 44 seconds to talk on when to apologise, starting now.
I think we all apologise too much. When you walk down the street and bump into somebody, they apologise. We're a terrible race for apologising. Whatever happens, we're sorry. Oh, I'm terribly the same thing. I didn't say.
Kevin, you challenge.
I was terribly.
Yes.
Oh, terribly. I said.
Kevin, correct challenge. 27 seconds, when to apologise, starting now.
An Elton John song lyric goes, sorry seems to be the hardest word, but that's incorrect. It's klantrop mich.
Oh, you challenge.
Repetition of...
Yes, there was a little bit too much phlegm in that, I think. Paul's challenge was correct. And so we had 16 seconds on when to apologise, starting now.
So I turned round to Winston Churchill and I said, I'm awfully sorry, I didn't recognise you when you first came in. I naturally assumed you were the minicab driver. Well, the course of the Second World War was changed forever that fateful night as the Zeppelins dropped the bombs. That was the First War.
Sheila, you challenge.
That was the first one.
The First War.
Well, yeah. Repetition of war.
Yeah.
1 second, Sheila. When to apologise, starting now.
I think you should apologise all the time.
So Sheila Hancock was then speaking as the whistle went and has moved forward. She's 1 point ahead of the other 3. But Sheila, you said earlier on, people apologise too much.
I know.
And then you said, just then,
I know.
I apologise.
I know. Somebody should have got me for repetition or whatever.
No, deviation.
Deviation,
yes. And Sheila, we're back with you to start this next round. And the subject, a nice cultural one for you, the Brontë sisters. I'm sure you know something about them. Tell us what you do know, starting now.
I adore the Brontë sisters. I used to like them all the way along, but I then did a documentary about them and I absolutely loved them more than ever. I adored them before.
Joe's challenge, yes.
There were 3 thems.
Oh,
Are we
yes.
allowed to, am I allowed to contest a them?
For more than
bit-
2, yes. 3, yeah,
Bit
maybe.
presumptuous, but yes.
49 seconds are still available. Joe, the Brontë sisters starting now.
I think more about the Brontë brother than the Brontë sisters. I believe his name...
Paul, challenge.
Deviation. No. Just from the subject of the Brontë sisters.
And you want to talk about the Brontë brother?
The Brontë brother is sort of
No, you
not
said
the Brontë
I
sisters.
think more about.
Yeah. I really didn't know where I was going, so... I wanted to say Brontosaurus, that's all I had.
Well, save it, you might get back in again.
Oh, OK, I'll save it.
Right, yes. 44 seconds are available, Paul. The Brontë sisters starting now.
The Brontë sisters you never hear about, Helen, Susan and Bridget, would sit at home while their more talented sisters would write novels and all kinds of wonderful literature. I realised I couldn't say Helen again, so I didn't bother.
Kevin, you challenge first.
A little bit of a hesitation there.
Little
Absolutely.
bit. Definitely.
Full stop.
Full stop. 34 seconds are still available. Kevin, the Brontë sisters starting now.
A Brontosaurus was a dinosaur in the old days, but has nothing to do with this. No one remembers the 1920s music hall act, the Brontë sisters, also known as the Incredible Siamese Triplets, which was actually a little bit of a defiance of the Trades Description Act in that they weren't sisters, they didn't join together, and then...
Sheila.
Putting me out of his agony.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Shoot me.
Out of his agony, 12 seconds with you, Sheila. The Brontë sisters starting now.
People think that Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights are romantic novels. In fact, they're not. They're agonised, desperate, erotic, passionate books written by women.
Right. So Sheila Hancock, speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. She's moved forward. She's increased her lead ahead of the other 3, are still equal in second place. Paul, we're back with you to begin. And the subject is, we're quite an intelligent show this week, the East India Company.
Oh, blimey.
That's not funny.
Somebody's pressed the button, meaning he won't know anything about that.
The East India Company, Paul, and your 60 seconds if you want it, starting now.
I certainly do want it. The East India Company was formed in the early 17th century and it used to trade in such highly prized goods as tea, silk, cotton and Nicholas Parsons. You could buy Nick in £5 bags and they would be exported all around the globe, particularly China and India. NP was at one point the gold standard. You weighed tailor-cut blazers beautifully against what people would expect in a normal life.
Sheila challenge.
Well, it is deviation, isn't it?
It worked for 200 years.
Only in your imagination, Paul. 34 seconds, Sheila. Correct challenge. The East India Company, starting now.
When they did my Who Do You Think You Are on television, I discovered that I had a great 3 times grandmother who was a trader with the East India Company. Her name was Madame Zurich, which means that I am of German ancestry, which came as a bit of a surprise. And she was a remarkable woman, having sold...
Paul challenge.
Oh, hesitation, Sam.
Yes, definitely. 5 seconds, Paul. You've gone in there again with the East India Company, starting now.
I walked into the East India Company ballroom. I said to them 3 things. There's 3... Oh, no.
Oh, it's a tough game.
I don't know anything about it. It shows.
All these erudite subjects we're having.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
But, Kevin, you've got in first. I know what the challenge is, but there's only 1 second to go. Kevin, on the East India Company, starting now.
The East India Company is an amazing thing that...
Kevin Eldon was speaking as a whistle went, gained that extra point. He's moved forward. He's now in a strong second place. Not a strong one, because he's only 1 point ahead of Paul Merton and 2 ahead of Joe Lycett, and he's just behind Sheila Hancock, who's still in the lead. And Kevin, we're back with you to begin, and the subject now is things that go bump in the night. I think we've got away from the intellectual subjects. That is it, starting now.
Things that go bump in the night, well, there ought to be a list, I suppose. Dodgems at a nocturnal fair, or hungry people colliding into each other at the top of the stairs because they both had the idea at the same time to have a midnight feast. I'm going down there for the chicken leg. You can have it. I just want a glass of milk. Poltergeists, they go bump in the night. That's a German word which translates as an illogical entity which cannot be explained by science and therefore must be discarded as the ravings of a mental person. But I think probably the thing that does the most bumps of the night are fat mice in cheese factories as they go careening around the wainscot having helped themselves to the produce. Oh, I must get a little bit more brie, says one to the other. I don't care, I'll have the camembert. Will you? And all the things that go bump in the night come...
A well-deserved round of applause, and you went for 53 seconds.
53.
Oh, God,
That's
really?
the agony of this show, isn't it? They go, they entertain, and then just before they... Sheila, you challenged first. What was it?
Yes, well, I can't... This is the second time he looks so transfixed by it. I get worried about him.
Yes.
Hang on, is your issue that he looked mad?
No,
Is that your...
yes, that he's writhing in agony and looks as though he needs help.
It's
So when
an
he hesitates...
act of compassion, actually.
Yeah, it was an act of compassion.
And thank you, because,
Yes.
it hurts.
So what is your challenge within the
Well, he
rules?
did hesitate as well, but...
I don't think he hesitated. I never said
I
anybody...
think, do you know what, I was starting to talk the most utter rot.
Kevin's going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you have 7 seconds still to go on things that go bump in the night, starting now.
Another thing that may go bump in the night is a huge, great meteor falling down from the heavens and...
Joe challenge.
I think he's gone mad. So
In what
deviation from sanity. No?
No, I don't think you can say. We're all mad to be in this show anyway. We all are touched a little in different ways, and you're more touched than most, probably.
Thank you very much.
I won't give it to you. You've got 2 seconds left, Kevin. Things that go bump in the night, starting now.
A dead bat falling from the eaves of a house.
Kevin Eldon was speaking of the whistle went, and with the extra points in the round, including one for speaking of the whistle went, he's moved forward. He's one ahead of Sheila Hancock, and he's a few ahead of Paul Merton and Joe Lycett in that order. And Joe, we're with you to begin. Another strange subject. String theory.
Great.
I don't know who thinks of these subjects. But anyway, string theory, 60 seconds, starting now.
String theory is a physics theory that suggests that the atoms at a molecular level, even beyond quarks, are actually strings, not points like you might think of them, and that we have various dimensions, some say 10, some say more like 20, that will be a...
Kevin, you challenge first.
It's a difficult
Gosh, that
one.
was very interesting, Joe.
Yeah.
Right, there we are.
He ran out of steam a bit, really.
He did.
There, and,
Hesitation.
yeah.
So, Kevin, you've got him with 41 seconds to go. Tell us something about string theory, starting now.
If I were to explain to you the mind-bending complexities of string theory, in 5 minutes I'd have a nosebleed, and within another quarter of an hour my head would actually explode. It tries to explain the deep structure of matter. Nothing has any kind of solidity. Did you even consider that? Not even Gyles Brandreth.
Paul challenge.
Repetition of even.
Yes.
Not even.
There were too many evens there. So, Paul, you've got him with 18 seconds to go. Tell us something about string theory, starting now.
The new kitten was alert to his surroundings. He looked this...
Sheila, you challenge.
Hesitation.
I know. He was playing for the laugh.
I thought we weren't allowed to
I know you can't. So it was a hesitation, Paul, I'm afraid.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
String theory, Sheila, starting now.
When I...
Hesitation.
No. Give Paul a bonus point because we enjoyed the gag, because that's what it was said for. He got his laugh. Sheila gets a point because she was interrupted. And you have string theory and Sheila, 11 seconds starting now.
When I was a brownie, the theory was that if you put left over right and the reverse, that was called a reef knot. And then you had a double-barrelled bow.
Paul, you challenged as the whistle went.
Double-barrelled bow?
I was making
I think that's deviation. Then there is a double-barrelled bow.
No, there isn't. I made that up.
Yeah.
And you did it as the whistle went?
Yeah.
What do I do? I'll give you both a point. Right. Sheila, Boyne for speaking as the whistle went. Paul for a correct challenge. And the situation is, at the end of that round, we're into the final round. Oh, your lovely audience. Right. Joe Lycett is trailing a little in 4th place. Just ahead is Paul Merton with a few points more. And then Kevin Eldon. And 1 point ahead of Kelvin.
You're told not to bring pets.
I thought you were doing an impersonation of Kevin, actually. And then 1 ahead of Kevin is Sheila Hancock as we go into the final round. And Sheila, we're actually back with you to begin.
Oh, dear.
And the subject is very apt for you because it's the rag trade. And you were in that show on television for many years, very, very successfully. Can you talk about the rag trade in any way you wish? 60 seconds, starting now.
The Rag Trade was a television show in the 60s, and I think that was the date. I now have forgotten, of course, because it was so long ago, but I was in it with Miriam Carlin, Peter Jones, late of this manner, and somebody called Esma Cannon, who was a little tiny woman who fell in boxes and tripped over all the time. And it was immensely popular, much to our surprise, because who thought that a play about something happening in a factory where people made clothes was going to be funny? But we had this catchphrase, everybody out. And as soon as the show started going out, 2 outs.
Joe, yes, you've gone in first, yes.
2 outs. Absolutely right.
2 outs.
Absolutely right. Well
and
done.
there's still 19 seconds available, Joe Lycett, for the rag trade starting now.
The rag trade is something that I have worked in as I was an employee in Primark and found that it was a lot of rags, essentially, that were tossed onto the ground with no consideration for anything at all, just throwing things into the road, bits of shoe.
Sheila challenge.
I can't quite understand what's going on. Isn't it?
You and me both, Sheila, to be honest.
Why was... we're advertising anyway, but there are a lot of other shops.
I wouldn't say that was an advert.
Well, we have a situation here, but there's only 1 second to go.
Oh, Lord.
So, do I give it to Sheila? Because I think she was...
Hang on.
Well,
what does the gazelle say?
All right. The audience wanted to have a Sheila. What is the situation? Well, actually, Sheila, you're going to win anyway, so... and if I give it to you, Joe, you'll still be in 4th place, so... So Sheila, go on. No, give it to Joe. 1 second to go, Joe. The rag trade starting now.
Raggedy rag, rag, rag.
So, as I said before, this was to be the last round. If you're interested in the score, it's all very close. Joe Lycett finished up in the 4th place, but only 1 point behind Paul Merton, and he was only 2 points behind Kevin Eldon, and he was only 1 point behind Sheila Hancock. So we say, Sheila, you are our winner this week. We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute. I only remain to say thank you again to these 4 fine players of the game. Paul Merton, Kevin Eldon, Sheila Hancock, Joe Lycett. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, and she's blown her whistle and the 60 seconds have elapsed. We thank our producer, who's Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're indebted to this lovely audience here, who've cheered us on the way. So, from the audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye, and tune in again the same time when we play Just a Minute!
Just a Minute. We'll be back next week with Paul Merton, Jenny Eclair, Julian, Clary, Vanessa Feltz, and of course, the iconic Nicholas Parsons.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, but also to welcome to the programme 4 exciting and talented performers. And they are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Vanessa Feltz, and seated on my left, Julian, Clary and Jenny Eclair. Please welcome all 4 of them. And I'm going to ask them if they can speak at different times on a subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. Seated beside me is Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score, and she'll blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And we're going to start the show with Jenny Eclair. Jenny, oh, a lovely subject. Random acts of kindness. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Random acts of kindness is the modern way of doing good deeds. They're all over the internet should you need some advice as to what you can do. Stuff like helping old ladies across the road. No, I don't need your
Oh, need your
I ran out.
I know,
sorry.
Right. Paul, you challenge first.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. Random acts of kindness is a subject, Paul. There are 43 seconds still available, starting now.
I think the theory and the practice is that if you perform a random act of kindness for somebody, they will do the same for someone else, and it turns out to be a chain that reaches all around the globe. It is true that when we do perform an act of kindness for somebody, we do feel a reward, slightly better about ourselves, maybe our soul is a little cleaner than it was when we got up in the morning. Random acts of kindness. Was it not somebody I can't think of who once said something I forgot? Indeed.
Vanessa, you challenge.
A bit of digression, I would say.
Yes, deviation, my love.
Deviation.
Yes, that's how we interpret
That's
that
how
one.
we say it,
So,
yes.
Vanessa, you have a correct challenge. You've got in with 15 seconds to go. Random acts of kindness, starting now.
By far the most long-lasting and worthwhile random act of kindness anyone can bestow upon a fellow human being is to compliment them when they least expect it. So accost a total stranger and say something along the lines of...
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Vanessa Feltz, who's now in the lead, one ahead of Paul Merton. So, Julian, will you begin the next round? Weather forecasting. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
If there's a warm front coming up the Straits of Gibraltar, then you know that you are listening to a weather forecast, and I'm glued every evening. That nice Mr. Fish used to broadcast, didn't he? And he was a nice, smiley, kind of a gentleman.
Jenny, Claire.
2 nices. Nice, Mr. Fish, nice.
Yes. So, correct challenge, Jenny. And you have weather forecasting. 46 seconds starting now.
It's incredibly important, weather forecasting. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what to wear. Oh, the hell of going out bundled up in cashmere layers, only to venture out the door 22 degrees. What a sweaty heat.
Vanessa, challenge.
Who can afford layers of cashmere? Get real. We're meant to be all in this together.
I knit them myself, Vanessa. From second-hand cashmere.
But, darling, I think
That
she's
is a
got
fib.
I think she's got a legitimate challenger. You don't wear layers of cashmere. You
I've
wear
got
one
a
cashmere.
medical condition that makes me very, very cold indeed. So if I have the temperature of a frog.
Well, maybe you could wear underwear, which will keep you warm.
Frogs don't wear underwear.
So, Vanessa, correct challenge. 35 seconds for you on weather forecasting, starting now.
Weather forecasting is utterly vital, particularly when planning a large celebration, such, for example, as a wedding. The worst possible scenario is a sodden bride, a dripping groom, bridesmaids soaked to the...
Julian, challenge.
Speak for yourself.
We love the interruption. Do you have a challenge within the rules of just a minute?
No. Just thinking out loud.
As we enjoy the interruption, Julian, we'll give you a bonus point for that.
Thank you.
But Vanessa was interrupted, so she gets a point for that. And she continues with weather forecasting. 21 seconds available. Vanessa, starting now.
A favourite scenario when let down by the weather forecast is the
Paul, challenge.
You have scenario before, worst case scenario.
Yes, it did. The worst case scenario, you were talking about the wedding or whatever it was you were organising.
Yes.
So, Paul, you've got in with 16 seconds to go on weather forecasting starting now.
As we climbed closer to the North Pole, I checked the weather bulletins in my back pocket. According to Colonel Anderson, there was another 500 yards to go, but the storm was settling in. The snow was making me blind, white everywhere. What was I going to do? Dramatic.
I don't think you've ever gone to the North Pole.
Oh, I went to the South Pole by mistake.
But, Paul, you were speaking as a whistle when, getting an extra point, and you're in second place now behind Vanessa Feltz. Only the second time she played the game, she's now in the lead, right. And Vanessa, it's your turn to begin. Oh, I think this has been chosen especially for you. Dancing shoes. Tell us something about dancing shoes in just a minute, starting now.
You may have heard of a television programme that goes by the colloquial title of Strictly. When approached by the makers of said show, I was frankly terrified.
Julian challenge.
Repetition of show.
Yes. So, Julian, correct challenge. 49 seconds are still available. Dancing shoes starting now.
I, too, was in Strictly Come Dancing many years ago. You have different types of dancing shoes. For ballroom, they're little patent Nancy boy kind of affairs. And then for the ballroom, there's a kitten heel.
Vanessa challenge.
Repetition of ballroom.
Yes, you had 2 ballrooms down.
Did I?
Yes.
I'm a fool to myself.
I know. 36 seconds, Vanessa, on dancing shoes. Back with you, starting now.
It came as something of a shock to me to discover that there are a variety of dancing shoes required for participation in this particular creative endeavour. One is suited purely to Latin American dancing, the cha-cha-cha, for example. Oh, no! Shoot me now. Expel me. I don't deserve to be here. I don't.
So we know what the challenge is, Paul.
Repetition.
Yes, I know.
Yes. Oh. So I thought you were asking me.
I don't think I could have missed it. 20 seconds available. Dancing shoes with you, Paul, starting now.
It's a film by Powell and Pressburger called The Red Shoes, starring Moira Shearer. And she is possessed by these bloody instruments on her feet. And she has to dance until the scourge of the devil rises in her soul and her heart. And she says to the all-assembled crowd, how's that for a quick tap dance? Where's me money? I'm going home. And what a magnificent sight it was.
Well, at the end of that round, Paul Merton was speaking as the whistle went. Again, that extra point for doing so. And he's now equal with Vanessa Feltz in the lead. And they're ahead of Julian, Clary and Jenny Eclair in that order. And Paul, we're with you to begin. The subject is the Channel Tunnel. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
As a piece of engineering, it was first suggested in the 18th century, but a lot of people said that's just ridiculous. You can't build a tunnel underneath the sea between England and France. But it seemed after a while the various presidents and prime ministers of the countries involved said to each other, you know, it may not be a bad idea.
Jenny, you challenge.
Deviation from being able to hear him.
It's not a legitimate challenge.
And then
the
he
rules
paused.
He did pause, Dan.
Yeah,
We'll give you the
hesitation.
hesitation, yes. He was putting on one of his comic voices, which I'd like to know who he thought he was impersonating. Who was it? Alec Dennis?
No, I don't. No idea. It just comes to me, you know.
Oh, well, keep it yourself in future.
Yeah. I will.
Yeah. Jenny, a correct challenge. You have a point. You have the subject, the Channel Tunnel. 46 seconds starting now.
The Channel Tunnel is a marvellous...
Paul challenge.
She's nicking my act.
But not doing it very well.
You're very hard to please tonight, aren't you?
No, I'm just trying to get laughs, that's all. So, Paul, what's your challenge within the rules of just a minute?
The deviation. She doesn't speak like that normally.
No. You weren't deviating from your normal voice.
Yes, absolutely.
I was doing an
But actually, there's nothing in the rules which say you can't put on another voice if you speak, so I'll have to give it the benefit of the doubt and say, Jenny, a point to you, 43 seconds still available, the Channel Tunnel starting now.
The Channel Tunnel goes from Kent to Calais.
All challenge.
Hesitation while we all think of Johannesburg. Hesitation.
Absolutely hesitation.
I didn't want this. I don't know
Nobody
anything
does by the
about
sound of
it.
it.
Well, and then after that voice you put on, I'm surprised. Paul, 37 seconds are still available. Tell us more about the Channel Tunnel starting now.
11 miles under the sea. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Julian challenge.
Well, he was hesitating between each number.
Well, otherwise it becomes 34. 3, 4. You can't
He
go.
wasn't. He was going at a measured delivery, actually.
Yeah, measured delivery. Very good chairman. Best chairman we've got. Excellent chairman. Always said
chairman
excellent
you've got,
chairman.
right. No, Paul, benefit of the doubt to you. A point to you as well. 30 seconds. The Channel
How
Tunnel.
many?
Still 30 seconds.
30? Be quicker to go there, wouldn't it?
You don't live too far from the Channel Tunnel, do
No,
you?
I don't know. It keeps me awake at night. It's because parts within 3 feet of my fridge. I'll be saying this on the subject, couldn't I?
Right, you have 30 seconds. Off you go, starting now.
The Channel Tunnel travels within 3 feet of my fridge. I can't get to sleep at night. I open it up, the refrigerator's there, and suddenly, whoosh, whoom, this massive, massive trowel.
Jenny, you challenge first.
Double massive.
Yeah, double massive.
Yeah.
21 seconds still available, Jenny. The Channel Tunnel starting now.
Apparently it's great fun and I'd really like to do it, but so far no one's asked me to accompany them on the Channel Tunnel to anywhere exciting. However, I'm only 54, so there's plenty of time. In fact, tomorrow I might fetch myself a ticket from, is it St Pancras? I think it is. Yes.
Julian challenge.
Repetition of think.
Yes, there's two things there, yes.
I was struggling.
And it is St Pancras too.
Oh, good, good.
And Julian, you got in this time with 3 seconds to go on the Channel Tunnel starting now.
It's such a civilised way to travel. You sit yourself down in first...
So at the end of that round, they all have scored points. It's very close. Jenny, Eclair and Julian Clary are equal in the third place. Then Vanessa just 1 point ahead of them. And then Paul just 2 points ahead there. And Jenny, we're back with you to begin. And the subject is going to the gym. Tell us something about that subject in this game starting now.
I should go to the gym more often because my cardio fitness is very poor. The old blood pressure's going through the roof. But the fact is, I can't stand this stinking place full of those men with body issue problems.
Julian challenge.
Which gym is this?
I think you deserve a bonus point for that anyway, but have you got a challenge within the rules of Just a Minute, Jenny?
No, of course not.
No, of course not. But Jenny was interrupted, so she gets a point. And going to the gym with 45 seconds still available, Jenny, starting now.
And self-esteem issues. The only classes...
Paul challenge.
We had issues before.
No, we had... body problems and self-esteem issues.
This is issues now.
We've not had issues before?
No.
Problems and issues.
Problems before.
I see.
So, incorrect challenge, Jenny. Very similar, but doesn't really matter. 41 seconds still available, Jenny. Going to the gym starting now.
I don't mind going to the gym if I'm attending a Pilates class, which is a wonderful way of wasting an hour rolling around on a rubber mat, pretending to be doing minute core muscle exercises, but actually just lying there thinking, what'll I have to eat when I get indoors? I also don't mind the occasional yoga.
Vanessa challenge.
A couple of don't minds, I
Yes,
think.
you don't mind. Yes. Well, listen, Vanessa. 15 seconds available. Going to the gym starting now.
I was ecstatic to discover a gym that was not only local but boasted a truly magnificent restaurant. The aroma of food permeated every feeble attempt I made to exercise. I was lured close...
Right. So it's incredibly even if you're interested in the points. And Julian, it's your turn to begin. The subject is hieroglyphics. Julian, tell us something about that subject in this game, if you can, starting now.
Many years ago, I believe it was in ancient Egypt, a mother wanted to leave a note for her son, but didn't know how to write. So she squiggled away and...
Jenny challenged.
I challenged only because he
Half-hearted
hesitated.
challenge.
Yeah, it was, as your sentence was, it was a bit...
It was a hesitation.
Hesitation.
Darling,
No,
yes.
you have hieroglyphics. Go on.
Shall I have fun with hieroglyphics?
Yeah, it's a tough subject, but there are 51 seconds for you, Jenny, to try hieroglyphics starting now.
The closest thing we have these days to hieroglyphics is shorthand. I always...
Paul, challenge.
No, it's hieroglyphics. The closest thing to hieroglyphics is hieroglyphics. They still exist.
I think that she's entitled to say the nearest thing we have today is shorthand.
Oh, yes, I suppose
That
so.
there is a comparison, and so I think I give her the benefit of the doubt. And another point, and 45 seconds on hieroglyphics, Jenny, starting now.
What, it's still mine, is
Yes.
it? Oh, dear. OK, right, hieroglyphics. Very difficult.
Paul, challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, that's how So you've got in now, Paul, with 40 seconds to go on hieroglyphics starting now.
The earliest examples in the British Museum show a man in a striped blazer pointing towards an exit which looks like BBC Radio 4.
Junior, you challenge.
Repetition of B. He said BBC.
Yeah. Thank you for saving me. I was getting embarrassing again. 31 seconds, Julian, with you on hieroglyphics starting now.
Well, not everyone may know this, but the Hieroglyphics are a rather popular hip-hop band, and they have hits. I believe they're American, so you didn't know that. That's taken you by surprise, Jenny and Claire.
Paul, challenge.
Name one of their hits. I withdraw my challenge.
I don't have to know their hits, but it is an American band called the Hieroglyphics.
There is, yes. I've never heard any of them. I've never heard their hits either. So what do we do? Hoop challenge?
I challenge, but it's up to you.
Well, I think the fair thing to do, we enjoyed your challenge.
Yes, yes.
It was an incorrect challenge,
Yes,
wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
So, Julian, you have another point, and you have 19 seconds. Hieroglyphics starting now.
If you look closely at individual hieroglyphics, they're charming. I'm talking about the original ones. They are drawings of things like a serpent or a bird, and if the bird is looking to the left...
Jenny Chan. Why are you doing that? It's the rules of the game. Jenny, you running first?
Bird twice.
Bird. 8 seconds. Hieroglyphics, Jenny, starting now.
I suppose the other modern-day thing that's close to hieroglyphics...
Paul challenge.
We have modern before.
Yes,
modern day.
something higher.
Try and prove the point. I got it wrong. Sorry, yeah,
Yes,
he's
that's
right.
It doesn't matter, darling. It's the fun of the game that's important. And Paul, you've got in with 5 seconds to go on hieroglyphics starting now.
Tutankhamun said, "Call that a pyramid. I wouldn't be seen dead in it."
Vanessa, you challenge.
He's not Tutankhamun. Tooting's a station, isn't it?
That's Tutankhamun.
Tutankhamun.
It's the South London version.
So your rule...
They adore the great god Balaam.
Vanessa, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, a point to you, and only 1 second to go on hieroglyphics starting now.
Hieroglyphics are a fantastic...
So, the end of that round. It's amazing. We had 3 people equal in the lead. Vanessa, Feltz, Paul, Merton and Jenny Eclair. And Vanessa, we're back with you to begin. And the subject now is Bonnie and Clyde. What a difference from hieroglyphics. Talk on it if you can. 60 seconds available, starting now.
Bonnie and Clyde were a thoroughly disreputable, unpleasant couple of churls. They were criminal and unattractive. They were nasty in their inclinations. Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker fell in love at first sight. What she saw in him is utterly bewildering to me. What he saw in her...
Oh. Julian, you challenged.
Repetition of saw.
You saw yes. So you've got in your 37 seconds are still available. Julian, tell us something about Bonnie and Clyde, starting now.
Bonnie and Clyde were a couple of ne'er-do-wells, and they just didn't care. They killed people, robbed people, and all that kind of carry on.
Vanessa, you were listening well?
People.
Yes, too much people there.
Too many people.
So you've got it back again, Vanessa. 29 seconds on Bonnie and Clyde, starting now.
Faye Dunaway played the part of Bonnie Parker in the...
Paul challenge.
Repetition of Parker.
That's right. 25 seconds for you, Paul, on Bonnie and Clyde, starting now.
Georgie Fame had a hit record in 1967 called The Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde, and it happened to be the first single I ever bought. I remember taking it home and playing it with great relish. The ballads...
Jenny, you've challenged?
He sniggled out of it. I was
Yeah.
going to accuse him of saying ballad twice, but then he turned it into ballads.
You challenged halfway through the word.
Yes.
So what is your challenge? The rules, just a minute. Hesitation?
I'm removing... Yes, he did, didn't he?
No, we interpret that as hesitation, darling. So you have a point. You have 13 seconds. Bonnie and Clyde starting now.
The other person in...
Paul challenged.
Hesitation.
Nearly, but not quite. So there are still 11 seconds, Jenny. Bonnie and Clyde starting now.
Warren Beatty played Clyde. I saw this film quite recently in a hotel in Sheffield. Thought it's going to be rubbish. Actually, I was intrigued by it and felt...
So Jenny Eclair was then speaking as a whistle went, gained that extra point. Paul, it's with you now to begin, and the subject is coping with interruptions. Which happens in this show all the time. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
I'm not very good at coping with interruptions in normal life when I'm walking down the street and somebody pokes their head out of a window and shouts at me just as I'm in the middle of constructing a poem towards the greatness that was Kubla Khan. It happened to Coleridge, the poet. He was interrupted by a man who knocked on his door, and the poetry that he was writing...
Julian challenge.
Oh.
Is this a postal challenge?
No.
We count it.
Just thought I'd interrupt you to see how well you cope with it.
Oh. Quite well, I thought, didn't you?
Yes, because you didn't commit any of the misdemeanours of just a minute. So an incorrect challenge, really.
That
yes.
satisfied my
You have another
inquiry.
point to you, Paul. And you have 42 seconds. Coping with interruptions are starting now.
Of course, it's an essential part of playing Just a Minute that interruptions must be part of the game, because otherwise...
Jenny challenge.
Part and part.
Yes.
Yes, the right. 35 seconds for you, Jenny, on coping with interruptions starting now.
I cope with interruptions by ignoring them and talking louder over the person who is attempting to interrupt me until they leave me shouting my head off in a vortex of loneliness because no one can stand the mad ranting woman just screaming at the top of her voice, talking absolute rubbish but not allowing...
Paul challenge.
Is this coping with interruptions? It's more just talking.
Well, I think she's saying how she coped with an interruption, but she did go on a bit about it, didn't she?
That's how I do it.
Drifting towards the novella stage.
Yeah. I think I've given it against you last time, Paul. I will give you the benefit of the doubt on this
She's rocking
occasion.
in her chair again, nurse.
That's the other way I cope with it.
So benefit of the doubt to you on this occasion, Paul. 14 seconds. Coping with interruptions starting now.
As I sent the Morse code from the stricken ship, I realised that dash dot ditto was not exactly the message I wanted to get across. There was no reason to believe that we would be afloat for more than another half an hour.
Jenny challenge.
I don't think he's coping with an interruption. I think he's doing something else.
What were you doing?
I was bored with the subject. I thought I'd talk about something else.
You were on the ship and there was interruptions.
There was interruptions. No, that wasn't really. No, I think Jenny's absolutely right.
I think, yeah, well, you had the benefit of the doubt last time.
I had the benefit of the doubt last time.
You got the benefit
She's
of the
got
doubt
the benefit
this
this
time,
time.
Jenny. And you have another point. And you have 1 second to go. Coping with interruptions starting now.
I coped.
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. Oh, and we're moving into the final round. So I'll give you the state of play as we do that. Oh, it's all very, very close. Julian, well, he's excelling in fourth place. Behind Vanessa Feltz, who's 2 points behind Paul Merton. And Paul is 1 point behind our leader, who is at the present Jenny Eclair. Oh, and Jenny, it's your turn to begin. Oh, I say, this is a good subject. My guilty pleasure. Tell us something about that. You set somebody alight in that audience, Jenny. But elucidate on that subject starting now.
My guilty pleasure is watching rubbish television. My favourite one is a programme called Take Me Out, where girls get live pimped on air by a fellow called Paddy McGuinness. It's hilarious. All these over-made-up girls come charging...
Paul challenge.
A repetition of girls.
Yes, all these girls and Take Me Out.
I didn't want to say bimbos. That would be horrible.
What's it says? No likey, no lighty.
That, you love it.
You've not been on it, have you?
I didn't get any offers.
No.
Right, Paul, 45 seconds, a correct challenge, by the way. My guilty pleasure starting now.
I like to record all the episodes of Just a Minute and take off Nicholas's voice and then edit them into a complete and utterly personal message to me. I make him speak in the tones of the devil as our erstwhile chairman summons up the spirit of Lucifer, the whiff of incense in the air as I feel Beelzebub knocking at the window in a striped blazer. There is no two ways about it. This is my guilty pleasure, summoning up...
Vanessa, you challenged.
I don't think he feels any guilt at all.
Oh, I see what you mean. There's no guilt about it.
No guilt at
it's
all.
It's pure pleasure.
Pure enjoyment.
Pure enjoyment. Yes, he's right, Paul. There was no guilt on your face.
No, absolutely. Such an easy trick for me to fall for.
So, Vanessa, you haven't had a benefit of the doubt, but you have it on this occasion.
Not for a while.
Right. Right, Vanessa. 16 seconds are available. My guilty pleasure starting now.
I'm ashamed to admit my guilty pleasure is viewing a programme entitled Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I am riveted by their shoddy lives. I am entranced by their paltry romances.
And Paul challenged.
Repetition by there.
By there, yes. Audience, those are the rules of the game. But I have to tell you that Paul's got in with half a second to go. He hasn't won any friends, but he's won the subject. Half a second on my guilty pleasure, Paul, starting now.
And I'm ashamed of it.
So, as I said, that was to be the last round. Julian Clary, the last time these four were together, actually won. On this occasion, he was trailing a little, but only just in third place, because we have an equal winner. In second place was Vanessa Feltz, but out in the lead, equal together, were Eclair and Paul Merton, joint winners this week. Right, it only remains me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with real style when the 60 seconds elapsed. We're grateful to our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're deeply indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're indebted to this lovely audience, who've cheered us on our way magnificently. From them, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye. Tune in again the same time when we play Just a Minute.
And Nicholas Parsons returns next week with Shappi Khorsandi, Gyles Brandreth, Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Nicholas Parsons, and as the Minute Waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, and also to welcome to the programme 4 talented and excited performers. And they are seated on my right, Gyles Brandreth and Shappi Khorsandi, and seated on my left, Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha. Please welcome all 4 of them. And as usual, I'm going to ask them to speak on a subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score. She'll blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And let's begin the show with Paul Sinha. Paul, the subject I have here, a good one. The summer solstice. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Well, the summer solstice is the moment in an Earth's orbit around the sun where its axial tilt is at a maximum. But I know it as the day when the hippies kind of do that weird thing that they do round in Stonehenge. I don't really understand.
Shappi challenge.
I thought you said really twice, but you didn't, did you?
Nicholas, about your judgment.
I didn't hear you say it twice.
I thought he mispronounced actually, and then I realised he said axily.
Yes, I was impressed by by that. He did say a good word.
And Paul, it was an incorrect challenge. You have the subject still. You have 44 seconds and a point, of course. The summer solstice starting now.
I'm aware that the Druids celebrate the summer solstice as though it's Easter, Christmas and Pancake Day all rolled into one. I consider it an odd custom, and I said this to my dad as we were giving an offering to Ganesh, the elephant god, only the other day.
Shappi, you challenge.
He quite rightly laughed at his own funniness.
Dried himself up with his own attempt at humour, right.
I laughed at the concept of my dad's broken heart as he's listening to the set.
Shappi, a correct challenge, hesitation. You have a point for a correct challenge. You have 28 seconds if you want it. The summer solstice starting now.
I like the summer solstice. As an Iranian, what we do, we celebrate by eating tons and tons of fruit.
Oh, Gyles, yes.
Tons and tons followed by a hesitation, as she realised it.
And also, if I'd carried on, I've actually muddled up with the winter one. That's when we eat fruit. So I got everything wrong.
So, Gyles, you've got him with the correct challenge, and there are 23 seconds. You tell us something about the summer solstice starting now.
At the last summer solstice, I became a druid. The costume is quite wonderful, ladies and gentlemen, and it fits me loosely, flowingly, and in a way that gets breezes to places that have not seen fresh air for a generation.
Patrick, you challenge.
Not even a druid's outfit could get wind to that place, Gyles.
So it's deviation.
You've seen a druid's robe, haven't you, Nicholas? You know
I wear them regularly. Yes,
That's how Nicholas and I first met, you know.
I think, knowing what a druid's robe is like, they're so heavy, I don't think they could get the wind to the places he was referring. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and say that you have 10 seconds to tell us something about the summer solstice starting now.
The summer solstice is apparently the longest day of the year, but after hearing Gyles' description of his druid's gown, I fear that this may be the longest day of the year.
Shappi.
Longest.
Yeah, the longest is repetition. And Shappi, you've cleverly got in with 1 second to go. You haven't won any friends, but you've got the subject. And you've got a point for a correct challenge, of course. 1 second. The summer solstice starting now.
I love
it. Paul challenge.
No, that's the winter solstice.
Paul, too clever. She hadn't got started, so she has another point.
I'll be honest, I was going to talk about the winter solstice again.
Another point and half a second to go on the summer solstice, Shappi, starting now.
Winter is my...
Well, at the end of that round, Shappi was speaking as a whistle wind, gained that extra point, was doing so, and at the end of the round, she's in a very strong, commanding lead. Patrick, we'd like you to take the next round, and the subject is the best way to travel. Take it any way you wish, 60 seconds available, starting now.
2 roads diverging in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And B, one traveller long I stood and looked down as far as I could where it bent in the undergrowth.
Shappi challenge.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. It's the road less travelled.
Ah, literature.
Yes.
Yeah, but is it the best way to travel?
No, I was going to say then I decided to go to the airport.
There was repetition there, though.
Shappi.
Yes.
Last time you were here, you never had a benefit of the doubt. So you've got a benefit of the doubt on this one.
Okay.
And you have the subject with 50 seconds to go, the best way to travel, starting now.
The best way to travel by far is by piggyback. I know this because I regularly give them. I also get them. Unfortunately, the people who give them to me...
Gyles challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, no wonder. Gyles, a correct challenge. 42 seconds. The best way to travel, starting now.
The best way to travel is first class. In order to enable me to do so, I dress up as the Pope. I find this helps enormously. I now look like the Pontiff, and wearing white flowing robes that really do get the wind up in a nice way. I kneel down at Euston Station, kiss the platform, and am ushered into the correct place to travel, which is what I
Patrick challenge.
Oh, I think he was hesitating just a smidge in there as he knelt down on the platform. I think he realised something may have been showing with the Pope's robe.
I was listening very attentively, and I think he kept going all right. I think we'll forget all this and say, Gyles, you still have the subject. And a point, of course, for an incorrect challenge. And 19 seconds available. The best way to travel starting now.
The best way to travel if you are in the Nepalese mountains is by rickshaw dressed as the Dalai Lama. Gorgeous saffron-coloured garments.
Shappi challenge.
I think you said dressed before.
Yes, you did, dressed as the Pope before. Shappi, you're increasing your lead, and you've got another point, and you have 9 seconds still available. Keep going on the best way to travel, starting now.
Wheelbarrow, that is my preferred mode of transport.
Paul challenge.
It's not, it's piggyback.
No, I think she was conveying that she'd like to give piggybacks. But now, if someone's pushing her, she likes to get in the wheelbarrow. You've got another point, 6 seconds. The best way to travel, starting now.
I parade up and down my street with my neighbour pushing me as we pick flowers from other people's...
So at the end of that round, Shappi Khorsandi was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point, and she's increased her lead over Gyles, Brandreth, Patrick, Kielty and Paul Sinha in that order. And Shappi, your turn to begin, and the subject now is soap operas. Tell us something about those in just a minute, starting now.
Oh, it's like a soap opera. It's something people often say out of context when they've forgotten their keys. It's not like a soap opera. You just can't get into your house. A soap opera is if you had married your father and your cousin came away and married your dog.
Gyles challenge.
I've never known a soap opera feature bestiality, and I'm an enthusiast for these programmes.
So, Gyles, have you a challenge within the rules of just a minute?
Yes, I have no. I'm stepping
actually, you shouldn't have stepped, because she did actually repeat something, but it's too late now.
It's too late now.
Too late now. Yes, she repeated married.
That's the story of both our lives, Nicholas.
So she has another point for an incorrect challenge. And Shappi, you still have soap operas, and you have 44 seconds starting now.
The people who never say, oh, it's like a soap opera.
Gyles challenge.
Oh, it's like. Repetition on.
I don't think you should have started the same way, darling. And so, Gyles, a correct challenge, repetition, 41 seconds available to you on soap operas starting now.
I was brought up on Coronation Street, not literally living there, but viewing the television soap opera. And dressing up as Ina Sharples was my childhood joy. My mother wanted me to be Minnie Caldwell. My father had reservations and thought that maybe I should be a character from Dr. Finley's casebook, not strictly a soap opera, but ooh, Janet, is that the call from Tannock Bray came to his lips so easily.
Dr. Finley wasn't from Ireland.
Listen, he wasn't. He was doing quite a good Scottish accent then. So an incorrect challenge, Patrick, I'm afraid. 15 seconds still with you, Gyles, on soap operas starting now.
Soap operas began their history back in the 1930s. The first of them was produced in Chicago. I believe it was called something like Pleasant Afternoon, and provided...
Patrick challenge.
It was called Lovely Morning.
Patrick, the benefit of the doubt, I don't think it was called Pleasant Afternoon. Because none of us actually know what it was called, but I think you got closest because it was Deviation. So, Patrick, you have 5 seconds on soap operas starting now.
Growing up in a small village in Ireland, I never saw soap or opera until I moved to London. I will always remember the...
So Patrick Kielty was in speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. He's moved forward. He's still in third place, behind Gyles Brandreth, who's behind Shappi Khorsandi. Gyles, it's your turn to begin. And the subject now is Master of Ceremonies. 60 seconds on that subject, if you can, starting now.
I'm frequently asked to be a Master of Ceremonies, most recently at the British Funeral Directors Awards, where the principal prize was for thinking outside the box. As Master of Ceremonies, during this extraordinary occasion, I was invited to show off all the trade goods that were on display. Caskets and coffins. One was silk-lined with air holes so that you can breathe after your passing in the event of being buried alive. Being Master of Ceremonies at any occasion is quite a responsibility. I attended the 110th birthday of Nicholas Parsons as Master of Ceremonies. I was privileged so to do, despite...
Yes, I'm glad someone's challenged. Patrick.
I was going to let that go, but you looked at me so upset.
I may be getting on a bit, but 110. Do I look 110?
Of course not. You're a sprightly 52.
I was looking forward to the engagement. I was anticipating it.
What was it you said at my 90th birthday party?
I can't believe you're here, I think is what I said.
Patrick, you have a correct challenge. You have 23 seconds. Master of Ceremonies, starting now.
A master of ceremonies always welcomes people in order of importance. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Nicholas, audience, Shappi, Paul and Gyles. Welcome.
Paul, you challenged.
I think that was an entirely unfair accusation of hesitation that I was about to come up with.
Incorrect challenge, I'm afraid, Paul. So, Patrick, I have another point, and you have 8 seconds on Master of Ceremonies, starting now.
The Master of Ceremonies on this show is called Nicholas Parsons, who is the greatest Master of Ceremonies since MC Hammer. My love for him is deep in my...
So Patrick Kielty was then Speakers of Whistle when gained the extra point. He's moved forward one ahead of Gyles Brandreth, and you're both trailing Shappi Khorsandi. And Paul, you're trailing a little. Paul Sinha, it's your turn to begin. The subject, Crystal Palace. Tell us something about that edifice or that football team in this game, starting now.
Crystal Palace are a Premier League football team who currently lie 4 places...
Patrick challenged.
By the time this show goes out, they won't be.
I'd like to point out they're in 11th place and safe from relegation, so that's an entirely baseless allegation.
Hesitation on his interruption.
So an incorrect challenge. So, Paul, you have another point, and you have 56 seconds on Crystal Palace, starting now.
Despite Patrick's interruption, Crystal Palace lie 4 places behind Manchester United, which used to be considered something of an achievement, but not this season, who knows. They are also the neighbourhood in which I live in South London, described by estate agents as up and coming, which means we have both a vibrant criminal community and an excellent delicatessen.
Shappi, your challenge.
It's a bit of a mean challenge, but he said "and" several times.
And?
It's mean, isn't it? I feel mean.
Yes, the audience feel that too, don't they?
I'm sorry.
Well, it's a correct challenge, but I think we should resist those sort of challenges, my darling, in the future.
Right.
No, and.
But,
I did resist it for the first 2 ands.
Well, all right, the third and, you've got it. A point to you and Crystal Palace. 36 seconds starting now.
Well, I've got no idea about football, but I will tell you that I know there was a fire at Crystal Palace and they had to rebuild it out of...
Gyles challenge.
Hesitation.
She did hesitate. Gyles, a correct challenge, 28 seconds. Crystal Palace, starting now.
The British Broadcasting Corporation began its television life at Crystal Palace in the 1930s, and to appear on the...
Paul challenge.
It was Alexandra Palace, Gyles.
No.
Yes. No.
No, it was Crystal Palace. They then moved to Alexandra Palace, as I was about to explain. But...
I think you'll find...
It takes us a while to check some of this out on Google under the table. I've only just discovered that the actual soap opera was called Enchanted Dreams in 1930. It took me about 3 minutes under the table, and I don't think you'll find out about Crystal Palace until you get home.
Thank God I now know that was you Googling under the table.
Googling under the table? Crystal Palace? I don't know where we are.
Do I feel the words benefit of the doubt puckering up on your lips?
Yes.
I think the words crystal balls are coming to mind.
I'm going to give a benefit of the doubt to Paul Sinha, though.
Oh, that's controversial.
Yes. It's not controversial because, I know you're right, but it wasn't established at Crystal Palace. It was only established at Alexandra Palace. And that's my reason for saying, Paul, you have the subject back again because you began with it, and there are 21 seconds starting now.
In the same way that Elephant and Castle has neither a large mammal nor a fortification, and Poplar in East London has no trees, Crystal Palace has neither crystal nor palace anywhere to be seen due to the fire in 1936. But hopefully a Chinese businessman with plans to rebuild it will mean that our house prices rise to what is euphemistically described.
Gyles, you challenged.
House. Repetition quite a bit earlier.
Oh, yes.
He said his house was down there.
The house is down there.
Yeah. House,
no,
not house.
That was my neighbourhood.
Oh, no.
And I bought...
He clearly referred to his house. I feel that, don't you, Nicholas?
Yes, I do. No, I'm always fair.
He's always so fair.
I gave Paul the benefit of the doubt last time. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on this occasion. But I also have to tell you, we got in with half a second to go. So you haven't won any friends. You've got the subject. You've got antagonism in the audience. It's Crystal Palace starting now.
Cinderella lived in a Crystal Palace.
So a lot of points again. Gyles got one for speaking as a whistle went. He's moved forward. He's 2 ahead of Patrick Kielty. He's 2 behind Shappi Khorsandi, who's still our lead. Paul's bringing up the rear in fine style. Patrick, we'd like you to begin the next round.
Yes.
And the subject is 15 minutes of fame. A phrase we've heard often, but talk on it if you can, starting now.
I think I can speak for most men here this evening when I say the only thing worse than 15 minutes of fame is 20 minutes of glee. In fact, any show with fame-hungry children and leg warmers leaves me cold. The problem today is that people don't just want 15 minutes of fame, they want fame for their entire lives. And thanks to YouTube, Twitter and Facebook, they now can have it. Sharing too much, people have no shame. Here's my dinner, there's my sex video, Grindr, Tinder, anything with a in order to get your leg over. It disgusts me. Why can't we all just go home and be anonymous like I currently feel I am on this show?
Oh, Shappi, you challenged.
I was really enjoying that, but you just stopped speaking.
So good. So good. You went for 40 seconds. 41 seconds, actually.
I haven't gone for 40 seconds in a while, I have to say.
And that is the irony of this show. You can go with panache and style like that for 40 seconds and you don't get anything for it. And the person challenging, because it's correct, gets a point, and that is Shappi. And there are 19 seconds left. 15 minutes of fame, Shappi, starting now.
My grandmother never got her 15 minutes of fame, so I might try and give her 19 seconds of fame. She was a funny woman. She gave my mother a Cobra ashtray for her birthday when my mother has a phobia.
Oh, Gyles,
Repetition of mother.
So, Gyles, you've got in with 7 seconds to go on 15 minutes of fame, starting now.
I do 15 minutes of fame as Lisa, the part originally played by Laura Dean in the 1980 movie.
So Gyles Brandreth was speaking as a whistle when, gained that extra point. He's creeping up on Shappi Khorsandi, which is a rather devious thing to do in just a minute. But I only meant in the points area. Shappi is 1 point ahead, and they're both a few points ahead of Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha in that order. And Shappi, we're back with you to begin. And the subject is flying a kite. I don't know whether you've ever done it, but talk on the subject if you can, starting now.
I regularly fly a kite with my son. One of my favourite songs is "Let's go fly a kite up to the highest height. Let's see where this song repeats itself." I'm not entirely sure that it does. I should have sung it with more confidence.
No, you shouldn't. You've done 3 lets already.
All the sarcasm. Yes, correct. There were 3 lets there. Well, listen, Gyles. 42 seconds. Flying a kite, starting now.
Flying a kite, it's terrifying, but if you hold on to the bird with both hands around the neck, clutching the body with your knees, it can be huge fun. Though dressed as the Pope, a little bit awkward, slightly ridiculous as well. I have also flown a buzzard and an eagle. For my money, flying a kite is the real sensation. Up you go over the park. Mary Poppins is waiting below with somebody who has a curious Cockney accent. They want to sing you to the ground. Yes, they do. Let's go.
Patrick, challenge.
Oh, I think it's a repetition of do.
Yeah. Do?
I think so.
It's let's, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. Let's. That's what I meant. Of course, how remiss of me. Yes, let's. Yes, let's it was.
You're looking very stern.
It's very difficult
It's
to talk
very
about kites without saying let's.
I thought I'd only said it once, but if I'd said it twice, of course, Nicholas.
No, you didn't say it. So what's your challenge then within the rules of just a minute?
I would say deviation. We were talking about flying a kite and then you suddenly grabbed the neck of a bird.
Yes, a kite. I was thinking of the red kite, that beautiful English
Gyles,
kite. Scottish as well,
I've got to say, that is deviation. You could not possibly fly a kite, one of those little birds.
Oh, the listeners cannot see the weight loss that has taken place in these
No, that is pure deviation. All those birds you were flying. So, Patrick, benefit of the doubt. 10 seconds for you on flying a kite, starting now.
Let's forget about the show, all go to the pub, get naked. Nicholas Parsons is buying Who's With Me? I was just flying a kite.
Clever.
Paul, you challenged.
A challenge on an assumed deviation there.
Deviation. It's not, because one says he will buy the drinks, that's not flying a kite, is it?
Well, no, I was flying a kite with the audience to see who would come.
Yes. That was brilliant.
No, you're taking the symbolism too far, I think.
I'm sorry, I'm just an Irishman who wanted to go to the pub.
Paul, benefit of the doubt. So you have the subject from 5 seconds on flying a kite, starting now.
Flying a kite simply reminds me that when I was a boy, I simply didn't have the same hobbies.
Shappi challenge.
Simply.
Yeah, simply.
Well done.
You've got in with 1 second to go, and you have flying a kite, starting now.
I like to go to...
So Shappi Khorsandi within 3 because it was a win, gain that extra point, and we are moving into the final round. Let me give you the score in the points situation. Paul Sinha, he's now trailing a little in 4th place. Patrick, who did very well last time, these four were together, is trailing in 3rd place. Gyles is always strong and up there. He's in 2nd place, but out in the lead still. Who started in the lead? Shappi Khorsandi. Paul Sinha, we're back with you to begin, and the subject now, a lovely one, meteor showers. Tell us something about those in this game, starting now.
I appear to be astronomy boy for the evening. If you found the previous one on the summer solstice difficult to understand, perhaps this won't be any less hard to comprehend.
Patrick, your challenge.
I think he confused himself there, didn't he?
Yes.
He did, right. Patrick, you have meteor showers, 51 seconds, starting now.
I have never seen a meteor take a shower, but I've seen the odd star take a bath. Oh, what a moon that was. I was working as a window cleaner at the time here at the BBC when...
Gyles challenge.
A repetition of scene followed by repetition of BB.
BBC.
You could have just left it at scene.
It was the repetition of scene.
So you have the C.
I think he was trying to stop me before I got into seeing Gyles taking a bath.
Gyles, a correct challenge. 40 seconds available. Meteor showers starting now.
Patrick might well have seen me taking a bath because during a troubled period when I was in my 20s, I got involved in unsuitable movies. And indeed, my porn star name was Meteor Showers. Curious nomenclature, but one that I got used to. As with my waxed torso, I slipped out of the dressing gown and into the shower itself, where soap on a rope, not Pope there, no, was provided to me, and I sponged myself, and Patrick and other viewers with eyes agog stood there.
Paul's challenge you.
Well, it's very pedantic, but if you were in your 20s, Patrick was probably not even alive at the time, let alone in full employment as a window cleaner, spying on your every move.
So what is your challenge?
My challenge is deviation on the grounds that the years just simply don't match, and therefore it's just nonsense.
Well, it was all nonsense anyway.
Yes, true.
Technically, your challenge is correct. So, Paul, you have the subject, and you have 6 seconds on meteor showers, starting now.
When I was a kid, Patrick...
Gyles challenge.
When I was.
What about that?
Repeated for the 3rd time.
What's he on about?
I don't know what you're on about, Gyles.
I know what I'm on, though, and I think maybe I've taken too many of them. It's just such a tense experience, this programme, Nicholas.
You said repetition of that phrase. Well, he hasn't used it yet on this particular round. So, an incorrect challenge.
Of course, Nicholas, if you say so.
He hasn't used it in this round.
Gyles, I think you and Paul should have a cuddle before we continue.
Benefit of the doubt to you, Paul, and you have the subject, and you have 5 seconds to go on meteor showers, starting now.
I would certainly know...
Oh, Shappi challenge.
Sorry, I didn't even know I did that, but probably I.
No, darling. I gave it to you on and some time back. I can't give it to you. No. So, no, we won't allow that one. Paul, you still have the subject. 3 seconds to go. Meteor showers, starting now.
I Gave It to You on And was also a film starring meteor showers.
So, as I said a little while ago, This was to be the last round. We've now completed it, and it's a very fair situation in the result if you're interested in the points. Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha did very well. They both finished up equal in third place, but they were a few points behind Gyles Brandreth, and Gyles was 2 points behind the person who started in the lead and has maintained that position to the end. So we say, Shappi, you are our winner this week. Thank you to these 4 fine players of the game, Gyles Brandreth, Shappi Khorsandi, Patrick Kielty and Paul Sinha. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with such style when the 60 seconds elapsed. We thank our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. From our audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye, and tune in again at the same time when we play Just a Minute! Welcome to Just a Minute. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, but also to welcome to the programme 4 exciting, talented, humorous individuals who are going to show their skill with words and language as they try and speak on the subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And those 4 are seated on my right, Paul Merton and Kevin Eldon, and seated on my left, Sheila Hancock and Joe Lycett. Please welcome all 4 of them. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me keep a score. She'll blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Radio Theatre in the heart of Broadcasting House. And we begin the show this week with Paul Merton. Paul, an unusual subject. I think it's going to give you some challenges, but try and speak on the subject of confessions of a Radio 4 panellist. A moment or two to think about it, and your 60 seconds starts now.
Dear Radio 4 listener, I am naked from the throat up. And so is everybody else on the panel of Just a Minute. In fact, though, we have no audience. What you hear is a tape machine. Let me press the button marked spontaneous applause. And now... Oh.
Oh, Sheila, you challenged.
Well, it was a long pause.
I know. Well, he's destroyed the whole illusion of Just a Minute, hasn't he? I agree with you, Sheila. That was a hesitation, so you get a point for that, and you take over the subject. There are 40 seconds still available. The confessions of a Radio 4 panellist, and your time starts now.
Well, I will confess that I really enjoy panel games because you don't have to learn any lines or wear makeup, although I wear just a tidge for the radio audience. You also have the most loyal people coming every time you do a Just a Minute all over the country, and they're the simply most beautiful audience in the world, and I've said audience twice.
And Joe, you picked up her confession the quickest. And what was it? I mean,
it was audience. She helped me out, but it was audience twice.
Repetition of audience. So, Joe, you have a point. You have 13 seconds still available. Confessions of a Radio 4 panellist, and you start now.
I am a new Radio 4 panellist and thus have very few confessions to make, other than I didn't flush the toilet when I went before the show because there was something wrong with it, and I really had to go, but...
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and it was on this occasion Joe Lycett.
It's true as well.
Joe, you were speaking as the whistle went, and you've got 2 points. So you're in the lead at the end of that round. And Sheila Hancock, it's your turn to begin. And the subject is planning a gap year.
I'm
I'm sure your gap years are way past.
Oh, God.
But I know you've had children who've probably had gap years. Talk on the subject if you can. 60 seconds, starting now.
Well, as you rightly say, Nick, I have little experience of planning a gap year. There wasn't such a thing when I was young. And indeed, I didn't even go to university because I believe a gap year is something you do between leaving school and going to college. And very often nowadays, people go to underprivileged people and, lots of people.
Joe, Lycett, you challenge.
Repetition of people.
Yes, there's too many people there. Joe, you've got a correct challenge. You get a point for that. You take over the subject. And there are 37 seconds still available. Planning a gap year starting now.
I didn't do a gap year, but I did plan one. I planned to go to Uganda, Niger, France, Germany, Brazil, Peru, Quebec, Argentina.
And then
It's amazing how few countries I could think of, actually.
Well, that's the thing about just a minute. You list, suddenly you dry up. You could go on, but you'd pause, and which is what you did. And I'm sure that's your challenge, Paul.
Yes, hesitation.
And his 21 seconds are still available. Paul, tell us something about planning a gap year starting now.
I had a calendar spread out on the bed, each month marked in a different colour. Red for July, yellow for August. You know how it goes. I was looking to spend some time in Los Angeles. I was looking for a broad. You didn't know my name?
Kevin, you challenge.
2 lookings.
Yes.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, listen, Kevin. And you've got the subject of planning a gap year and 9 seconds available starting now.
When I was planning my gap year, I thought, I know, I'll lie around in bed all day, then get up at noon, go to the pub. In the afternoon, I'll just watch television.
In this game, as you probably know, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and it was Kevin Eldon, and he's got 2 points at the end of the round. And Joe, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject is customer services. You tell us something about those in this game, starting now.
I have a disdain for customer services. I know something called the subject access request, which is quite useful. It allows you to demand information, all of the things that a company has on you in their database, and that is quite a waste of their time and can be used in the occurrence of them annoying you. I have used this myself with my phone company, T-Mobile, shouldn't mention their name. Other companies exist, such as 3 and Orange and many other wonderful companies. And
Kevin challenge.
Companies?
Yeah, and other as well.
And other, yes.
I was sort of backing up for the BBC, that's what I was doing there.
Anyway, Kevin, you have a correct challenge. The subject is customer services. 27 seconds starting now.
My name is Ben. I work in customer services. Why is it that people who employ themselves in that particular area always speak with that annoying upward inflection at the end of the sentence? It's when they turn a simple statement of fact into a question. It drives me mad. I don't quite know what they do. Oh, God,
Paul challenge.
So hesitation.
Yes,
I just collapsed inside.
Paul, there are 5 seconds still available. Customer services starting now.
These front tyres will never get you as far as Cairo. I looked him in the eyes. I realised the gun in my hand.
So Paul Merton was then speaking as a whistle went and gained that extra point. He's equal with Kevin Eldon in the lead. And Kevin, it's your turn to begin, or we'd like you to state the next round. Unexpected consequences. 60 seconds if you can, starting now.
Unexpected consequences are when things take an unexpected turn in the direction which is slightly unpredictable. It can be positive or negative. A bad example I have is when I took a girlfriend to Paris for a candlelit romantic dinner. I was going to propose to her during the course of it. It was all going very well, and then she ran off with the waiter. And as I was running down the Champs-Élysées shouting at the citron to the waiter, "I'll give you
Paul challenge.
Unfortunately, she ran off with the waiter twice.
Yes.
Repetition of waiter.
Waiter, yes.
Yes, sadly.
So, Paul, 30 seconds are still available. Tell us this about unexpected consequences starting now.
In my job as a Parisian waiter, I broke up many romance. The night had Kevin was in, I looked at the girl in question and I thought she was above him. There was something about her beauty I had to have for myself. I dragged her around the back of the bins and we kissed passionately. I was special of the day and so was she.
Kevin, you challenge.
Okay, yes, do you recognise this voice? Monsieur, the snails are off. Yes, me.
So, Kevin, what's your challenge with the rules?
Too late now.
It was an interruption of passion.
Well, that was an unexpected consequence of that subject.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what we'll do, Kevin, as we enjoyed your interruption and your animated response, we give you a bonus point for that. Paul was interrupted, so he gets a point, and there are 13 seconds still available, Paul. Unexpected consequences starting now.
I looked up towards the attic. The ladder came down in front of me. I climbed up step by stair.
It was a trap.
It was a trap door.
Joe, it's just that he's played the game many times before, and he knows how to quickly avoid a repetition. So, an incorrect challenge. 6 points.
6 points.
6 seconds.
6 seconds.
Yes, for you, Paul, to continue on unexpected consequences starting now.
I turned to Captain Scott and I said, I'll go out, I'll find provisions for the men. But when I came back, they'd all been eaten.
So Paul Merton was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and for others in the round, he's taken a strong lead at the end of the round. And Paul, we're with you to begin, and the subject now is, a lovely one, the big top. Tell us something about that in this game starting now.
First time I went to a circus, I was about 5 years old, so I had that young boy's romantic illusion of what the circus was all about. The big top, elephants, horses, beautiful girls, trapeze artists, but the clowns, these tumbling individuals with their orange check suits and their hair that went up at the sides, motor cars with wheels that fell off, lassos of sausages that you could chuck round somebody in the front row, buckets of confetti. I'd never seen adults behave like this, and here they were in the big top surrounded by thousands of people. It was Olympia 1963, Bertram Mills, and I soaked up every single moment of the atmosphere. The white faces, the big boots, everything, the sawdust, the smell of everything about it was show business, and so unlike the council flat I lived in Fulham. It was magnificent. The big top was something I shall ever forget my whole life. I've got no more to say about it.
Paul, you only had 5 seconds to go.
I said everything I wanted to say.
Well, we give you a bonus point for what you did say.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And Sheila challenge, we know why.
Yep.
And there are 5 seconds, Sheila. Another point, of course, for the challenge. The big top starting now.
I was actually working for Bertram Mills Circus in Olympia in 1964.
Do you recognise this voice, Monsieur the Snails? I'll kill him!
You were not on a trapeze, were you?
No, I was working as a sort of usherette come showgirl. I had to go ta-da, and I had to poke the lions as they went on, because otherwise they didn't roar, because they gave them a big meal.
It was a huge place, though, wasn't it?
Oh, vast.
Oh, yes, I remember
It was
going.
amazing.
Do you?
And my experience, also my first show business experience, was in the circus, but that was the travelling circus in Grantham.
Yes.
And they came, and it was so exciting, because they used to parade through the street first in order to work up business for us. And the elephants would go down, and the one behind would hold onto the tail of the one in front, and the clowns would do wonderful things on the floats as they walked by. And I stood there, mesmerised as a little boy, eyes popping out. Were these people real? And we were going to see them in the circus, in the big top. But it was wonderful. And I then really decided I wanted to be a performer. That's what convinced me.
You should have given it a go.
I have been Paul Merton's straight man for many years. Right, where were we? Paul, you're in the lead at the end of the round, and Sheila, it's your turn to begin. The subject is giving up smoking. 60 seconds if you can, starting now.
I gave up smoking with using hypnotism, which was absolutely successful as far as I was concerned. I was at the time working for the Royal Shakespeare Company on the management committee because I was a director, and it was all male. And we had these very late meetings that went on with smoke and the odd drink. And whilst...
Paul challenged.
Well, hesitation, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm afraid so. So, Paul, there are 38 seconds still available. Giving up smoking starting now.
There are many ways of doing it. People now vaporise, don't they? They actually go into a steam room, chuck tobacco onto the bath and inhale greatly. It's very expensive because you've got to have your own Turkish bath to make it work, and they've got to be on wheels. And the other thing about giving up smoking is to realise that actually the tobacco is a very powerful substance. Nicotine is an extraordinary drug. People claim that cigarettes calm them down. Others say, no, it gives me a buzz. It can't do both. It's our attitude towards these cigarettes that we have to change.
Joe challenged.
Repetition of cigarette.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
It's not on the card.
No,
Well,
no.
Listen, Joe, there are 11 seconds still available. Giving up smoking starting now.
A lot of people will use the Alan Carr method of giving up smoking. That is not the performer of that name going, oh, put it down. It's more a gentleman from the...
Joe was then just speaking as the whistle went. Gained that extra point for doing so. He's in third place, just behind Kevin Eldon, one ahead of Sheila Hancock. And Joe, it's your turn to begin.
Oh.
The subject is the most useful app starting now.
The most useful app in my phone is called Tinder. It is useful because it allows you to canvass for both men and women with the hope of finding love. And the great thing about it is that you can go...
What's wrong with standing in the middle of the street with your trousers round your ankles? That's good enough for me and me dad. Hesitation.
Paul, you had a correct challenge. 40 seconds starting now.
I don't have a mobile phone or a computer, so I have no idea what this subject's about.
Sheila
I don't have the
challenged.
most useful app.
You challenged first.
Well, hesitation.
Yeah,
or-
hesitation.
I haven't got one.
Sheila, 37 seconds
I'll be
available. My most useful app starting now.
It's very difficult to choose the most useful because I adore my apps. I've got one that you can do dictation and send it sound-wise to somebody to type out. Dragon is another excellent app. You can talk into it and it writes things for you. And, of course, we can't do without the one that tells you the way to...
Paul challenged.
I can. I can do without it.
And you are proof you can, Paul.
I'm proof I can.
Yeah.
But
so-
I don't think it's really a proper challenge, do you?
No, it wasn't a proper challenge. It was an interruption.
Yeah.
Sheila was interrupted, gets
Absolutely.
a point for that. 13 seconds, my most useful app, Sheila, starting now.
The one that shows you the way to places is very good, and I can't for the moment think what it's called. However, geocache...
Paul Collins.
A map. Not an app.
Oh, you funny old-fashioned thing, you.
You young people, you get taken up with these trends. You'll be trending on Twitter next. Whatever
So,
that
Paul,
means.
I will give you a bonus point for that because we enjoyed the interruption and the laugh. But have you got a challenge within the rules of just a minute?
No.
No, right.
No, I don't want the subject at all, as I proved.
I know you don't want the subject anyway. So,
Yeah.
Sheila, you've got another point, and there are 6 seconds available. My most useful app starting now.
Geocache is a wonderful way of going on holiday. You can hide things and people will find them.
So Sheila Hancock will speak at the whistle when, gained that extra point, as well as others in the round. She's leapt from 4th place into 2nd place.
Oh, very good.
Behind Paul Merton and Kevin. It's your turn to begin. Kevin, how I spread a little happiness. I think you've demonstrated how you do it a few times, and you start now.
How I spread a little happiness? Well, it's very important to do this in these straitened times where everybody's a bit unhappy and under the cosh. I take my role in this very seriously. I do things like go up to complete strangers, chuck them under the chin, kiss them on the nose, take my trousers down, and then run away laughing while smacking myself on the bottom. And this immediately elicits great peals of laughter and joy from people, apart from the ones who call the police. Another thing I do is to call up someone and tell them they've won 100...
Sheila, challenge.
2 calls?
Yes, 2 calls.
2 calls?
Yes. Sheila, you've got in with 27 seconds on the subject. How I spread a little happiness, starting now.
Even when the clouds above are darkening the sky, la-da-da-ba.
I'm sorry, we've got a lot of people to see today. Could you just leave your name? Just leave your name at reception. Oh, and hesitation, you forgot the lyrics.
I went la-di-da, I kept going.
Repetition of da.
No, I didn't do it. I knew you'd say that, so I said la-di-da. No, I didn't say well, la-di-da, that's all right.
No, that's fair enough.
Di-da. There's di and da.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Paul, we're going to give you a bonus point because we did enjoy the interruption. But Sheila, you weren't interrupted, so you get a point. And you've got 21 seconds. How I spread a little happiness, starting now.
Spread a little happiness as you go.
I'm sorry, love, that's the exit over there. You've come back into the same room again, love.
I'll keep doing it, no matter how many times you interrupt me.
No. That was a definite repetition. And 19 seconds, Paul.
Why was it?
Well, you sang the same song again.
I didn't sing the same line.
No, I think she's right. She didn't sing the same lyrics. It was the same tune.
So you didn't sing I Spread a Little Happiness the second time?
No, not the first time.
No, she's right.
Not the first time. Oh,
Definitely.
I don't want the subject, though.
No.
Anyway, go on.
Well, you're stuck with it now, my love.
Yeah.
How many
19 seconds available starting now.
And if you want to spread a little happiness, you've got to smile and make people laugh, hold their hands, give them a cuddle and a kiss on both cheeks if necessary. I am, however, deviating slightly because...
Oh, poor challenge.
Slight deviation.
What? On what basis?
Self-confessed.
It was self-confessed, but I think actually you were spreading a little happiness.
She was, indeed.
You were kissing people on both cheeks. Anyway, you did it as the whistle went.
Yeah.
And so you get a point for that and a point for when the whistle did go. And Paul, it's your turn to begin. Oh, a very topical subject. Self-driving cars. Didn't get any reaction from the audience. They've obviously all got them. 60 seconds, Paul, starting now.
Well, it's an invention that we'll see more and plenty of in the future. It's going to be a device where you'll be able to climb into this car, just push in your postal code and it will deliver you back to your home address or place of work or wherever it is that you wish to visit. Imagine country pubs will be very pleased to see this innovation as you can crawl out of the hostelry at whatever time you like, and as long as you're sober enough to be able to say you address into some sort of computerised speaker, you'll be whisked back to your domicile. I think that Google are mainly behind this. They've been mapping the Earth's roads for some time now, and they have the technology to be able to build these machines so they will travel around safely without crashing into one another. It's a prediction that in perhaps 10 years' time we will see these huge cars going around almost like trains, going up to Edinburgh, Glasgow, places far away.
Here's Sheila challenge.
Quite a lot of goings.
Yeah, there
Yes,
were
it was, yes.
going
Yeah,
up to Glasgow,
yeah.
Edinburgh.
It's true, though, they're on the way.
Yeah, on the way, yes. So, Sheila, correct challenge. Self-driving cars. 10 seconds starting now.
They are not going to have steering wheels or pedals, just an on-off button. They will only go for 24 miles an hour, according to Google.
So Sheila Hancock was speaking with the whistle went, gained that extra point, and she's come from nowhere.
I have come from nowhere, that's true.
But you weren't in a self-drive car, and you've now taken the lead, one ahead of Paul Merton, and you're both quite a few ahead of Kevin Eldon and Joe Lycett. Sheila, it's actually your turn to begin.
I'm exhausted.
I don't think you'll be too exhausted to take this subject. It's called taking a curtain call.
Oh,
something you've great experience in. You have 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Taking a curtain call can be a joy unless you're in a simply dreadful play, in which case it's something you dread for the whole of the evening, because you know the audience are going to be, at the very least, polite, possibly aggressive. Nowadays, they don't boo and hiss like they used to when I started in the profession. I remember a first night, and a dear friend of mine had to say the line, "I'm going to get the bird," and the audience rose. I'm afraid you don't know, but the bird...
Joe, you challenge first.
Repetition of
Yes,
birds.
the bird. They got the bird there. Joe, there are 26 seconds available. Taking a curtain call, starting now.
There is a phrase, break a leg, which I believe is to do with taking a curtain call.
Sheila, challenge.
No, it's not.
It's got
No, it's
Breaking a
wishing
leg,
people
break-
luck.
I know, but I thought it was to do with the fact that if you, with the curtain, when you pulled the leg of the curtain,
no.
You want it to break because you have to do the curtain so many times to do so many curtain calls.
No, it
Really?
means
I thought
if
that
you
was the
want to
origin
wish
of
someone good luck.
I
in
know,
the
but that's
theatre.
why you say, because you're
maybe
wishing them
that's
luck
the
that they
origin of
break
it.
the leg because the curtains...
Oh, that's brilliant. You
That's
can
brilliant.
have that. I didn't know that, if that's
No.
the origin. It's like whistling on stage. It's because the sailors used to whistle when they did the...
The problem is I've now not got anything to say this minute.
Joe, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Thanks.
And you keep the subject 21 seconds, taking a curtain call, starting now.
I have never taken a curtain call because I broke my legs too often and found that I wasn't able to do it. And so I am not familiar with that experience. However, I have been near a curtain and enjoyed calling it to myself. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Joe, you should have gone for 1 second more.
Oh, no!
Yeah, says Paul, you've got in with 1 second to go. Taking a curtain call, starting now.
Eamon Andrews, Frank Sinatra.
So, we're moving into the final round. You are lovely, aren't you? Kevin Eldon, who's given such values, particularly in animation, is in fourth place. He's struggling a little bit behind Joe Lycett, who's struggling a little bit behind Sheila Hancock, who's 1 point behind our leader, Paul Merton, as we go into the final round. And Joe, it's your turn to begin. And the subject is Red Letter Days. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
A red letter day is an opportunity to do something that you wouldn't normally. I took a red letter day to take a curtain call in a theatre and also break a leg. And it was a wonderful occasion, a lovely day, some might say. And I went out and there was no audience there because I'd paid for a cheap one and just a man that worked there clapping slightly sarcastically, which is like normally like my shows really. And at that point, I realised that I was dreaming, and I had also got a red letter day for a car driving experience where I would drive a car that's...
Kevin, you challenge first.
Well, no, see, I said car, but he said car driving, which might be actually a compound noun.
No, it's not quite.
Okay, then.
It's 2 words.
Yeah, okay.
So correct challenge, Kevin.
All right.
And you've got 19 seconds still available. Red letter days starting now.
I had a red letter day only the other week when I sat down to read the new book which chronicles the written communication between Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong. A typical one goes, "Dear comrade, communism's good, isn't it? I really think it's much better than capitalism. We should maintain this way of..."
So, Kevin Eldon was then Speaker of the Whistle when gained that extra point, and he's finished up in a very strong third place alongside Joe Lycett. And they are a few points behind Sheila Hancock. But 1 point ahead of Sheila Hancock was Paul Merton. So we say, Paul, you are the winner this week. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 or 5 players of the game, Paul Merton, Kevin Eldon, Sheila Hancock and Joe Lycett. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, and she's blown her whistle and the 60 seconds have elapsed. We thank our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game, and we're grateful to this lovely audience here, who've cheered us on our way magnificently. So from our audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and this team, goodbye. Tune in again the same time when we play Just a Minute!
And Nicholas Parsons and Just a Minute will be back later in the summer.